Your smile was the hit single that's got stuck in my mind. You got the catchiest lyrics and I hang on every line. But I don't know your verses yet, so I'm stuck in a loop. Just repeat your chorus and it got me with its hook. But I want to hear your album. Yeah, your cover looks cool. Not just your hit single, but all your other tracks too. I want to hear your voice express all your thoughts and your moods. And I want to hear your album so I can get down to your groove. Testing for a level, testing for the correct level. The correct level of conversation is really important. If I get too meta, I'm going to lose myself. I won't remember what I was talking about.
No, that's
correct
good.
level.
Yeah, you happy with that level?
In the headphones? Yeah, sure.
Okay,
I feel like I can still hear you.
Yeah, no, that's... I tried to kind of wanted to make my voice a little bit deeper.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I listened to a bit of... what the fuck is his name, mate? My brain's fried today.
I'm glad you're into the finer points of it, because the little things like that can make a difference.
Yeah.
To, and this is your brand, so you've got to take control of it. You are the attitude consultant.
I am the attitude consultant.
I'm wondering if if I were to have an attitude consultant, have I got not enough attitude and agenda? Do I, have a lot of people I think would have too much attitude and agenda, and they have to put it in check. And I'm kind of wondering if I've got enough agenda.
No, I don't actually think you need to have a lot in check. I think what you've been giving me already, when we were having a chat behind the scenes, which I did forget to press the fucking record button, by the way, which does piss me off quite a bit, but I do have the backup recorded there. I think we've already have been talking about good attitudes, like speaking about stuff without an agenda is great. So many people do.
It's the presumption of agenda as well.
Yeah, the only agenda that I do give people the opportunity to plug something at the end of it, but that's more of just a quid pro quo thing, because you're giving up your time and energy to be on the show,
karma swap,
and I can't really pay you as yet.
That happens at all different levels, though. You see that on TV shows. People get on chat shows just to plug their new book or whatever, and
Yeah, but I don't exploit that, and I don't beg for it.
Yeah.
A lot of people telling me I need to get celebrities and big names on the show, but it's like I just want to talk to my mates. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's how it works the best, though.
Yeah.
Because then it's going to sound like a conversation with a friend, and surely that's reality, and what people want is realness.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I think everyone searches for authenticity.
Yeah, I think the world's lacking it.
The bigger the world gets, the more it sort of has that lacquer of slick, sort of non-authentic sort of patina. Yeah, I saw something staged. My friend was like, "What do you think of this?" And it was like a 911 call, and I said, "No, I think the call is fake, but I think the 911 operator is fake. I think the whole thing's just a skit, and they're trying to sell it as something that really happened." But tonally, you can sort of hear that it's a put on.
People know. I wanted to do something like that with the whole Bunnings debate about this the sausage sizzle. I just wanted to kind of stand there as a security guard and, stop people from coming in because they're wearing the wrong shoes and just being over compliant for safety. And I thought, given the current situation and the events that occurred with the sausage sizzle, I thought that could have been quite funny.
There's a show about sort of retail. They make it in Melbourne, and it's all about these kind of stupid little things that come up just in retail. People trying to return something and without receipts and this and that. You can do whole comedy shows about the little cul-de-sacs of human activity where everything just gets stuck in a little rut.
Yeah. I remember the first time I met you, I struck you as an incredibly creative guy that was always coming up with ideas all the time. So many ideas.
I kind of love creativity, and I like to use my brain in a creative way. I think to me that's the spice of life, or the juice of life, is actually thinking beyond the mundane.
Yeah, for sure. Do you kind of find that because you're in tune with yourself? If you're feeling upset, you'd be able to name the emotion and how you're feeling and why
being articulate is really important, but then it's only going to work as far as the person you're talking to is articulate as well. If you use big words they don't understand, you're going to lose them. So it does remind me, there was a time I was on an aeroplane we were going to Bulgaria because it was cheap skiing, and they were saying, we've got the equipment to sort of navigate through snowstorms and whatever, but if they don't have it on the receiving end at this an airport in Bulgaria, doesn't matter how sophisticated we are if it's not received.
Yeah, you're talking a different language. You need to be on the same page.
A few years ago, I went on Big Brother, and there was all these tests beforehand. And one of the tests was to get you in a group with other people and get them to sort of say their first impression of you, just to see if you could take criticism or you know. And a lot of the criticisms that I had was this guy uses big words because he thinks he's superior to other people. And I thought about this later, and I thought, oh, should I dumb it down for these people so that I incorporate them? And I thought, no, you know what? They're going to have to step up. I'm sorry that they're feeling inadequate,
and maybe that's why you got vocabulary,
but they've got to step it up. Surely,
yeah.
You know, I can't dumb down my whole life just so someone else could get it.
Sorry, I cut you off there before, but do you think maybe that's why the producers actually shortlisted you? Because it's like, oh, it's superiority. Yeah, we need that, and then we'll throw a few dumbed down people.
There was this promotion, a last chance to audition promotion, and they asked me, do you want to fly out to Western Australia to do it, so to Perth, because there wasn't any housemates from Perth my year, and every housemate was already in the capital cities. And I said, well, we've got Joe for South Australia. So I was like, yeah, I'll fly out to Perth. Why not? I've got a friend there. I'll catch up with him. He's a teacher out there. So I fly out to Perth, and I'm sitting at this table basically during this promotion, and people are coming up, and they've got like 30 seconds to try and audition and sell, what's their sell point. Yeah. And a lot of people were like talking about, yeah, I'm really funny and I'm exciting. And I'm like, cool, what did you do on the weekend that was funny, exciting? Oh, I would hang out with my mates, I would just make them laugh, and they'll go, oh, you were so funny, eh? And I'm like, cool, I'm trying to get them to be specific. And they would just generally talk about how appealing and funny and everything they were without being specific. And I got so frustrated, I grabbed the microphone and I said, listen, to everyone who's standing in line, I know you all think you're funny and different and whatever, but I need to know how you're different. So if you've got a way of articulating it, even if it's your language where,
Okay.
And at that point, I sort of reflectively looked back and I was thinking, man, it is really hard to stand out for most people, because if you can't articulate why you're different. And I turned to the guy next to me and I said, geez, I wonder how I ever stood out from 20 or 30,000 applicants. And he said, oh, actually it was your video. And at that point I realised, oh, this guy must have been part of the panel that chose me.
Yeah.
And he said, a lot of people were driving around in cars and doing a lot of showy stuff for their audition, but it's like you were just a head in front of the camera. And it was a couple things I'd said, do you remember when you were a little kid and you're hearing your parents argue, and you're in bed and they're talking in loud voices and maybe trying to keep it down, and you kind of think, oh, they're just not getting it. I wish I could go out there, sit them down and say, look, Mum, when he's saying this, he's not trying to hurt you or mean this. He means this. If you just be calm and let him get, and Dad, she's not saying this stuff because she wants you to fix it. She just needs to get it off her chest. And you kind of wish you could put your 2 bits in. And I said, look, that's me going on Big Brother would be like me coming out of the bedroom and putting my 2 bits in the bigger narrative, in the bigger sort of storytelling or whatever.
Well, no, I can see why you got in. They would have thought, fuck, this boy's deep. This man's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do apologise. I forgot to introduce. Oh, shit.
Intervene and introduce
Intervene?
Me.
Sorry, Dan, I forgot to introduce you.
Do we have to start over then?
No, that's fine. We'll just introduce you now because people are confused. We already know that you're on Big Brother, but this is Daniel Mcinnes. How are you, Daniel?
I'm good.
Yeah, or Dan the man?
I'm sorry to bring up the Big Brother stuff, but if it comes up as part of the conversation, mate. I kind of wonder if I should apologise for stuff. Because people sort of
you can say whatever you want on this show.
I'm trying to bring it up to be ego or,
No, not at all.
It's just an interesting experience.
We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. I don't want to lead this conversation in any way. So, Daniel Mcinnes, what year were you on Big Brother?
2003. So
2003. So how many years ago? We were talking 15 years now.
Yep.
Fucking hell, mate. I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was definitely a good fun time. I was just recently going back and listening to the song that I wrote on that, trying to write down the lyrics and trying to work out what the chords were.
You wrote a song on the show?
I wrote a song for something to do, and actually someone who was watching the show recorded it and then did a dance remix of it, which is actually really good. And I was kind of thinking maybe I could put the dance version up and then just edit a little music video of snippets from the VHS tapes, and it would have that patina and look of VHS, so it would look of the era.
Interesting, because it was before social media, wasn't it? You didn't have that to
kind
of concern yourself with.
That's right, yeah.
Do you think
it had its sort of own social media, that they had their up late shows and discussion shows sort of on TV that they moderated and controlled.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't have that open world sort of for everybody to, you know, have that forum.
Was it like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here? Was it kind of like the contraband stuff where you couldn't bring stuff into the house?
I dress up as this nerd character, and they had like your essential items and your non-essential items, and so they could sort of hold back some items and then give it to you halfway through. And I was thinking, I wouldn't mind getting my nerd suit, because when it gets quiet and there's less people, it'd be fun to dress up.
Yeah.
You know, who doesn't like sort of going to a place where there's a box of wigs and you just put it on and have some fun? Like, dressing up's good fun.
Fucking oath.
You know, finding little funny characters or whatever. So, yeah, but they didn't let me take it in there because they were worried I was going to over-rely on just dressing up. Because I was already, you know, mucking around heaps and...
They were worried it'd be a crutch.
Some people think that comedy or fun is a barrier to get through, and some people go, you know what, it's a bridge because it's a different form of expression and it keeps things light. Like, I often use comedy as a release when things are so serious.
Well, let's do it now. I mean, because this is getting pretty fucking serious, Dan.
Yeah.
And you're talking about you've got your Stainthorpe character. You're going to dress up that to come on the show, but let's switch to it right now. Let's go.
All right. Wow. You snapped your fingers, and wow, look, I'm a nerd. I can hardly see through these glasses. It takes me a while for my eyes to adjust to wearing these glasses.
So tell me, Stainthorpe.
Yeah.
You do intrigue me. I have met you in the late 90s. I did meet you at nightclub.
I used to do, there was this club on Perry Street called The Planet.
Yeah, The Planet.
Yeah, but it wasn't really a planet, it was a nightclub. And the capacity was like thousands of people. And I had gone to Heaven nightclub, and I dressed up as this in a nerd suit. And they were like, oh, this is kind of funny stuff. Do you want a job doing this? I thought, okay. And so they were flying me out to Crown Casino and doing the Time Warp show. And I did about 6 or 7 weeks, and then it was done, it was finished. And I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe now that I got an agent and this is all set up, maybe I could do that somewhere else. So I bought a new suit, really tight-fitting sort of gray suit, kind of Pee Wee Herman-looking thing with red bow tie. And I went to the 80s theme night called Greed at the Planet, and they were like, cool, do you want a job doing this? I'm like, oh, that's all right. Okay. So then I started showing up every week on a Friday night and doing that. And then later on it moved to the Synagogue Place, church nightclub. And so I did there for a while. And then I was talking to this girl like after work down in Marion. I was working at the Intensity Games Arcade. And there was like a party for everyone who works at the center. Because I was saying, I do this nerd thing, but it's kind of like Groundhog Day. I just keep showing up doing the same thing. And you know, I'm like, I need to get maybe a screen agent to get into different types of work. And, you know, because of the whole reality TV was starting up, this is like year 2000. You know, I was like, it's so serious. So I would show up, you know, in my costume and try and do something silly. Oh, no, I got to take this call. This is about this work I got.
Yeah, take the call.
Can you pause this?
Yeah, no worries. Okay, see you, Stainthorpe.
Hello? Yeah. Cool. I'm alright. How are you doing? Busy though, yeah. I'm about a sort of an 8, fairly small foot. 8.5, yeah. I do have some boots. I've got some sort of ankle sort of height boots. Yeah. I wouldn't say work boots. They're black and they aren't work. Yeah. I've got them from a cowboy costume. I was doing them as Ace Ventura and stuff from some other costumes I had, so... Yeah. Okay. 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 Yeah, I'm not sure. They probably would have sent them through. I'm about a 32. I can fit into sort of anything between, you know, 30. I can squeeze into a 30 maybe, but like 32 give me some room, or 34 is okay, either that. I bet. I don't know if they sent that through. I never remember it all. Yeah, I think it's all the same. My chest doesn't change. My I sort of get a bit of middle-aged sort of spread coming out occasionally, but I've been scooting around trying to wear that off as well just recently. So I should be the same as what they've giving you? I'm about a medium. Cool. And the shoot's at the Brickworks, is that right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Bye-bye. Sorry, I had to take that.
No,
It's
that's
about
all right,
costuming
mate.
for that science fiction film.
Oh, yeah, tell us about the film, Daniel.
Look, I think they want to keep everything fairly quiet because people like to promote their own thing, but it's basically set. Yeah.
Woody Harrelson, doesn't he own a Oxygen Club or something like that?
Oh, does he? Oh, I don't know.
I think so.
Didn't know about that.
I'll Google that. Hold on. I'll just Google
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. He's a chiller, that guy. Harrelson, Oxygen Club.
I heard about Oxygen Thieves too. People who a bit of a waste of words.
Yeah, I know a few of those. Yeah. Okay. So the things got a little bit serious. So we brought out Stainthorpe.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a chat. I'd actually be interested maybe to talk about Big Brother if that's okay. Do
A
you mind
little
talking
bit's
about-
alright. Yeah.
Little bit's alright.
Yeah.
Whatever you're comfortable with. I just don't want to really push the matter.
Because otherwise, it becomes like talking about a poo that you had 10 years ago, where people go, "So was that a good poo?" And you're like, "Yeah, but it was a poo. Like it's over. It's a while ago." And then, they're like, "Yeah, but were there chunks in the poo?" And you're like, "Why are we talking about this poo I took all this time ago?"
Have you ever
And then they'll put it back on you, like, "Oh, why do you want to talk about this poo that you've taken 15 years ago?" I'm like, "You brought it up, but like, don't put it back on me. Like, if you want to talk about it, talk about it." But I get so much put backing that I'm the one bringing it up, and that I kind of feel like, should I apologise?
Don't apologise.
I don't mind talking about it, but I don't like put backing, and I don't like,
Yeah. Did you kind of feel like your life has been broken up as before Big Brother and after Big Brother, Dan?
I think at the time, it did feel like a big change, and it did feel like it was going to kick into big things, because you kind of anyone who's creative kind of thinks, all right, if I make that big breakthrough and I get sort of mainstream, or people are getting an audience or whatever, then there'll be the before and the after that moment. And you hear people in interview talking about when they were sort of discovered, or when they had their big hit single, and when and it is a before and after story. So you extrapolate and you kind of think, if that happens to me, that's what it's going to be like sort of after as well. So I kind of thought at the time, if I get exposure across Australia, wow, people will realise I'm talented, and then I'll get offers, and then it'll explode after that. But and there were some interesting rumours. Yeah. There was this rumour that I was up for a role of Man-Thing, which was a Marvel Comics character, and the film got made, but only just, and was they had budget issues. But Imogen Bailey was the love interest, and I'm like, you know what, that sounds good fun. I'm up for that. Yeah. But that was just a rumour, unfortunately.
So it was more of a case for you that the right jobs didn't come up. Like, you had opportunities, but you just...
Yeah, I guess so,
Is that your superiority coming out again?
No. Look, I it's your brand. Yeah. And you've got to control that. So, what's interesting is people go, well, why wouldn't you do this? It's like they say, oh, if you could be, for example, and get money, maybe you could use that money and then do your own creative projects. And I'm kind of thinking, well, but do you respect? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, why are you saying that I should do that then? You want me to grow into something that you don't respect? I mean, I've got to look myself in the mirror, and and if I think I am purely creative, then maybe it's just wishful thinking that your own, the best bits of you should be enough. Yeah. Like, I've auditioned for singing shows. I do this impression of Billie Holiday, where it's sort of like
a cigarette that bears a lipstick's traces, and they're lined to get to romantic places.
With and you put the vibrato on, and I thought, what would be interesting is if I could do that for the voice, because they got their backs turned, and they're gonna be thinking, wow, who's singing this? And then when they turn, it's this guy with this big, huge beard, and they're like, oh, where'd that person go who was singing? And that would be a nice moment. And so I recorded that, and I sent it. I found this instrumental by Nat King Cole, and I recorded that and sent it to them. And they said, "That's great. Come in. You're down to the 100 people or whatever that can come in for the audition." I'm like, "Great." Mm-hmm. Went into the audition, did my bit, and I'm like, "Is it a thing?" And they're like, "Well, what's your story?" "Oh, what do you mean?" Like, "Oh, well, we kind of need this sort of story of, And I'm like, I know what you mean. You mean like, my parents used to listen to Billie Holiday, and now if I sing that, it's like channeling, and it's like having my parents back in the room, and some huge dramatic sort of.
Yeah.
And I kind of think, well, it's a bit of. It's like masturbation, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of a fake sort of. Mm-hmm. Can't it just be about me singing and about it's a singing competition, isn't it? Or is it a story competition? Like, because can't I isn't that enough that it would be a really funny moment with the judges turning around? But apparently no, it's not enough. They want the story. So
yeah, and you couldn't give them the story.
I didn't want to fake the story just for that.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm like, don't you think I'm intelligent enough to sort of get the story straight? And no one likes being lied to, so why would I go out there and purvey a whole lot of lies?
For the sake of...
Yeah. So it's disappointing that comes into it, but there you go. That's
who you are. And you need to be non-apologetic about that.
Yeah.
But then
I've been talking about this, and there's a sort of serendipity, like just the fact that I was around in the city today, said, "Are you around?" Bang, it happens. And there's alignments that happen. And if you stick with who you are and creatively, there's an equivalent which I was trying to explain to someone. I was like, imagine you're trying to cross a road. Sometimes there's going to be traffic coming from the left, sometimes from the right, sometimes both times. You need it to be clear enough for you to walk straight across that road. There's nowhere to wait in the middle. Should you take it personally if there's too much traffic for you to cross? No, it's not your fault. You've got to, when things line up, they line up, and you might wait there and it's the middle of the night, there's no traffic. You can cross back and forth as many times. You make the most of it. Cross your little heart out of that street.
Yeah.
But don't sweat when things don't line up and serendipity doesn't happen. Don't sweat it. It comes and it goes. Just be steady, and if you go, stuff this, and you're not ready to cross that road, then the alignments might come and go and you're not there. Yeah. So it's preparation to be ready for that.
And not taking it personally.
Ready to cross the road, but don't take it personally if it doesn't line up. Yeah. I mean, this is where, for some people, spirituality comes into it, because it's sort of like in The Matrix where Neo, the main character, he gets a telephone and they're saying, look, duck down now, move into the other cubicle now. It's like arbitrary things at the time, but then someone else has got the bigger picture and they're guiding you. And for some people, that's God and praying to God and letting God say, go left now, go right now, and trying to listen out for that voice to navigate through life's maze.
Is that? Do you think that's what Big Brother was trying to project that, or trying to show that?
I think I went into Big Brother thinking this could be really interesting, but then I think, in the sense, it's just entertainment. They're not looking for that level. I mean, I was kind of thinking, what if the content is, instead of Mike Goldman going, who's going to do what to whom, imagine if he was saying, well, this is a little bit like the stuff that happens on oil rigs and submarines, where people are sort of stuck in each other's company and they have to, navigate through that and have an interesting commentary about it, because it could be really, really interesting.
Completely engineered.
It's engineered, yeah. But then you could say that, okay, with The Bachelor or those shows, it's an engineered situation, but the people are still real who are in that situation. So even though you're in an artificial environment, you're still putting real rats in that maze. Even though a maze is not something naturally occurring for the mice in their normal life, So you're putting something natural in an unnatural place. Like, it's not natural with The Bachelor. It's not natural to date a bunch of people all at the same time. So you're going to get conflict and drama just trying to navigate that.
Yeah, once the real emotions start coming out.
Yeah, and they rely on that contortion.
What went on in the Big Brother house? How much of that was directed? And how much of it was...
Very little.
Very little?
Very little, but they can direct how it's presented, so they can sort of show bits or not show bits.
So it was all in the editing, basically.
I think so, yeah. I mean, at one stage, I got called into the Big Brother and they were like, they must have been bored with what we were doing or talking about, and so they said, maybe you could have a conversation about what celebrities do the housemates look like, and sort of do a, try to do a look-alike sort of thing. And it was just a suggestion, I think, of just trying to kick the conversation along. I don't think it was trying to control it.
And then they just had a montage of...
Yeah, and I'm like, how do I drop that into the conversation subtly? Like, should I do that without telling the other housemates that it was an artificial stimuli or whatever? And they said, as soon as I come out, they go, what was that? Just battery swap? And I said, look, they just thought, we could have a chat about what celebrities, and it just, because it wasn't a naturally occurring topic, it didn't really take off.
And you're like,
So I just mentioned it, and they were like, "Oh, fair enough," and then moved on to something else. And then there was this moment where there was, because we started with 2 separate houses, and there was an area that I'd never seen on the other side that was, they blocked it off and changed it. It used to be the storeroom. We had 2 separate storerooms, but when they joined the houses together, it was one storeroom. So there's this other sort of spot, and you're in a small space, so you're really curious of what's in there, what's it like. And one of the guys on one of the activity nights was like, "Do you want to go for an adventure?" And we were dressed up as like Braveheart or something. I was having a kilt and my face painted blue like Braveheart. He threw me a sword. "Come on for an adventure." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Don't ask any questions." I'm like, "Okay."
First rule of Project Mayhem is you do not ask questions. What are you talking about?
So I go romping after this guy, and we went through the door into this storeroom, and it's completely dark in there. So they'd stripped out the interior, and then they were holding the door closed. We could hear them laughing on the other side, and it was like, this is some kind of, they'd lured us in, and it's some kind of prank. And then around the corner comes one of the cameramen from the camera runs, who's dressed like a ninja, because it's sort of two-way glass and you've got to stay dark.
Yep.
Which was kind of scary. It's like someone just appearing in your house that's not normally in your house. Imagine right now if someone dressed as in Black Ninja just showed up. It's kind of confronting. So
yeah.
We were like, "Oh my God, we're in the camera runs." We could see out into the kitchen and stuff. We're like, "This is wrong. And then the producer of the show called us in and said, "This is against contract, and if you want to see outside the house, you could do that afterwards, and why are you doing this?" And I'm saying, like, I didn't know. I was lured into this. And you think Big Brother is seeing everything, but at that point I'm like, well, they obviously don't know that they're not scrutinising every detail, because otherwise they'd know that I wasn't doing this on purpose or breaking in on purpose. It wasn't a conspiracy, you know.
Wow.
And so then it's like, well, how much are they missing then if they're not getting something like that?
Were there any places in the house that all the contestants were aware of? It's like, oh, this place is off limits, this is off the grid, so you go over there and get hand jobs and stuff.
One of the things was they had cameras everywhere so that in case someone wanted to, you know, like say for example, if you wanted to make out with somebody or want to get up to something a bit private, they wanted to make sure there wasn't areas where you could do that. And so they were like, there's cameras in the toilets and the showers and everywhere. And I mean, I'd always shower with my underwear on, one, because it was just a way to wash your underwear. Mm-hmm. But it's also privacy. And I'd sit down to pee like a girl, and I'm like, I'm not giving him a chance to... Because one of the guys was trimming his pubes and that got screened. And he's like, how is that a story? You told me it wouldn't get screened unless it was a story. And so he was livid that got out.
Yeah.
And there, at one stage when they were doing some work on the bathroom, they had a portaloo, and I think that did not have cameras in it. And at that point, I had not masturbated for about 2 months.
Right.
And so I was kind of thinking, it's very, very tempting to go into that porta potty and you know,
snap one off. Yeah.
Get rid of the blue ball. So
yeah, and you didn't.
I didn't, and I was like, but it was, that was. But I'm not sure that they would sell that as a storyline or anything on the show. I was staring at it. It was like it was a stare off with this porta potty. And I'm like, you are the devil.
That's gold. That's gold.
It's weird. It's weird little moments. Sometimes this is a shared show. Like I'd be sitting in that spa, light rain falling on my face, looking up to the sky and going, man, this is weird. This is a TV show. When is this ever going to happen like this? Surreal. And it's a strange alignment when all these things come together. And then, you know, once again, that traffic just moves on, and then you can't, you know, and that doesn't ever come together again. You just got to enjoy things while they last.
Yeah. Do you have any regrets on not following up on all these opportunities that you're getting outside of the house afterwards?
Part of the issue was there's a contract where you're signed up to a Sydney agent, and I'm kind of thinking the way it works is, I mean, part of the contract was I'm not supposed to talk about it, so I don't know if that's in effect as far after the fact. No. These contracts are pretty fascinating. Sometimes there's intergalactic clauses in. I read one of these reality shows that said you're giving permission for your likeness and stuff to be used in perpetuity intergalactically, so that if they choose in the future to screen it on a space station or on another planet. And I'm thinking that's pretty forward thinking, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah, cool. And you did really well. You got third, didn't you?
Yeah.
Third out of 16 or something like that. Do you
think... Somehow it reminds me of the Monopoly card where you've won second prize in a beauty contest, collect $10. I kind of thought, you know, third place it's more or less a popularity contest, so I thought, oh well, that's actually a vote of confidence in who I am, because that was me as myself, not as a character, you know. So it's kind of nice when you just be yourself and you get kudos or you get success from just that. That was actually really affirming.
It's like the people watching like me.
And what's interesting about the global audience, or when you know, now we've got the internet and stuff, is you're expecting it. People always give you shit, and they will. But there's another side to it where people will really like something. Like I was thinking, okay, I want to make something, you know, that people are going to watch. What's out there? And I found this thing called literal music videos, where you've got a music video and you change the lyrics to describe what you're seeing. And the way that you describe what you're seeing becomes sort of the material or what's funny. And I thought, what have I got the music video for? And I looked, I've got the DVD of Jamiroquai's Greatest Hits, and I had the CD single with the instrumental. So I did a literal version of Too Young to Die by Jamiroquai and got some really funny gags in there. It got up to about 6,000 hits. But some of the comments were like, oh, you've got a good voice, or oh, this guy's like, I went into a bar and I saw the original video in Iceland in this bar, and I'm giggling at it because I'm thinking of your lyrics. And I think, wow, you know, as these people don't have to say something positive, and yet here they are saying sometimes really positive things. So there's that side to it. You have to learn how to filter or take the shit to be able to get the other side of it, which is people being nice too.
And you kind of take the shit all right, don't you?
Yeah, because I think also, like, you have to re-rate your opinion of people based on what the way they talk about you or talk, you know. So if someone hates you, it's like, oh, well, what do I really care about their opinion anyways? What's tough is if you admire somebody and they said something bad about you. Like if your favourite musician in the world said, yeah, this guy's kind of shit.
Imagine if Miley did
that would hurt. If Miley said, you know, this I don't want this guy talking about me or being, you know, that would hurt.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Because you can't re-rate your opinion of her and go, oh, well, she sucks anyways, because it's, you know, you're more invested than that.
Yeah.
So it's a thing that works most of the time, but not 100%.
Yeah, no, I get it. You know what you remind me of is Jim Carrey at the moment.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Even
you
with
a fan
beard?
of Jim Carrey?
Yeah. I suppose there's moments where he's got a beard as well.
Yeah. Have you seen Kid In? The new Stan special?
No.
Is
this comedy thing with the two?
It's the puppet. Jim Carrey's the puppet guy. I mean, it's where he's at with the Truman Show. Just wanting to break out.
So this is with, it's got Jim Carrey in it?
Yeah, it's got Jim Carrey in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to see it.
Yeah.
You got Stan?
Because see, I think he when you're big, you can take your pick of projects, and so I think Jim Carrey's at the stage where he wouldn't have to take it for the money necessarily. I mean, you can't go too long without money, but you know, he wouldn't do a project unless he thought it was interesting.
Oh, for sure. No, it's another Michel Gondry project.
Right. Yeah.
So he's directing it, but that Andy show that we were talking about before, when he looked at Jim and says, "You're so damaged, don't you dare change."
Right.
Like, how fucked up is that?
Yeah. But
Like,
that's real though,
and
lots of stories and lots of art comes from being damaged. You look at all the best art, and a lot of it is from because that's real human experience, and that's what an audience is going to relate to.
Yeah.
Well, if you lose that and you don't become damaged, or you gloss over it, and that's what I think is a shame too. People not wanting, you know, they don't want to bring anyone down or whatever, but you know, I think if you've got negative experience and you're still on top and you're navigating it well, or you're asking for some ideas on how to navigate it, that should make good conversations.
People are so worried about triggering other people, but the only way that you can actually overcome your demons or whatever is by experiencing it again and confronting them.
Yeah.
You've got to go there. You've got to go to the dark places.
Well, you know, like I consider myself really good at massage, and what I tell people sometimes is, look, if I'm going to prod your sore points, it's going to hurt. But I'm not actually causing the hurt. I'm just bringing attention to it. And I think psychologically the same could be said. If you're talking about something that hurts you, you're going to relive that trauma and you're going to relive that hurt. But it's a way of addressing it. Because what I do, you know, in massage, and this you can do in a psychological sense, is I'm like for example, I was giving someone a massage up in the hills, and I started from their head and working down, and I'm thinking, gee, there's not much here that's that bad. And then I got to a point just behind their knee. Yeah. And I was like, wow, this is really built up. There's so much energy and stuff stored in this. And I was like, I could almost sort of see and feel this injury, that this is where it's all coming from. This is the central point of all of the other sort of body soreness. And it's like she had been on a pedestrian crossing, gotten hit by a car, sort of, and you can imagine the car hitting just where the knee is and her going bang onto the bonnet. and she was a dancer, and so the disappointment of losing this dance career is the emotion of that gets stored in your body. So when something goes bang and you get impacted, everything that you're feeling and stuff is often tied up in that as well. So by addressing it, I'm like, this little impact here you've got is like a little safe or a storage of all of this disappointment. And
it's got a memory.
It's got a memory. Your body has a memory.
Yeah.
So I said, you know, I want you to, while we're here and we're in this moment and while we're revisiting it and it's painful, I want you to address it psychologically while I'm addressing it physically and massaging it.
Yeah.
Because it's a point to sort of open the doors and let the sunlight on this, and let's evaporate some of this sort of dank darkness in this little place of storage. It needs airing out and whatever, because then you know, if you get things that are out of your subconscious that are driving your behaviours, traumas, and you become conscious about it, it's no longer the pilot. You're aware of it. Yeah, it's pretty hard to take it all out of your subconscious, but so it's still going to drive your behaviours. But then you're aware of it and you can be conscious, yeah, I know why I'm doing this now, and you can work around your own drives a bit more and manage your own behaviour.
Yeah, that's good.
Self-management.
Yeah.
Self-parenting in a sense.
You're a healer, Daniel.
I have had that experience, and I have it very powerfully with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Has
and a
anyone
lot of
ever
different responses to it.
Yeah. Would you consider yourself to be a healer?
I would, you know, look, if I had that moniker or that title, then yeah, that would be an honour to be a healer.
Yeah.
And I do like to think of myself that way. I mean, I like people, and I want them to be feeling good and to be at their best. So why wouldn't I want healing for them?
Yeah, for sure.
Without getting into Michael Jackson Heal the World or anything.
No.
Too slogany, but
it's
you know, it starts. If you want the world to be a better place, you have to start with what's in front of you. You can't wait for everyone else to go first. So if you can make a difference, and what I like about healing or massage is I can make a real difference. A lot of people, I'll give them a massage and they'll finish and they'll be feeling a bit woozy, and I'm like, great, have a drink of water because I've stirred up a lot of lactic acid. But they'll look me in the eye and they go, and I can see that I've made a difference. Yeah, I can see that they'll look at me and I go, wow, I feel fantastic, Dan. You know, I feel so relaxed or whatever, and you know, whatever that different response is. And I'm like, wow, I know that today I made a difference to another living human being, and isn't that worth it?
Yeah. And the flow of traffic was in their favour.
It lined up for them. Yeah, but and you know, and here's the other part to that is they allowed that as well, because touch is sometimes awkward, and especially touching something that hurts, trauma. You know, like I picked up this girl once at the backpackers down at Glenelg. I thought, oh, I'm living in Glenelg, you know, maybe I'll meet a really attractive foreign girl. So I went there and I'm dancing with this girl, and she was like, do you want to come back to my place? I went back to her place. I went to the bathroom and came back, and she'd gotten in bed, and I said, oh, I just saw this mashed up car in your garage. Like out, as I went to the toilet, there was a window looking out to the driveway, and I was like, did one of your housemates sort of in an accident or something? She said, no, that was me, that was my car. And I'm like, you alright? She goes, no, I'm really angry, and I'm sore, and I said, well, look, here's what I want to do because of that. I want to just, can I give you the sorry that you're still looking for? Because she described the whole accident. She was on Anzac Highway and she was heading up, and this was when the overpass or the underpass was going through, and there's this roadworks, and she got hit driver's side in a 30, 40k zone or whatever. And I said, okay, well, look, what I want to do, and it sounds a bit weird, but I'm going to just spoon you and hold you, and I'm just give you a reassuring. So she was like, yeah, okay. So I'm spooning her, I'm just tucking her hair behind her ear and just very softly saying, I'm sorry that happened to you. It's not your fault. Mm-hmm. And just keep trying to give her that sorry that she, and I just kept repeating it. You don't deserve that. That's really wrong, what happened to you. And just kept saying it. And then I felt her chest expand like, and at that point she let it out because she was stuck behind, fuck, these people have fucked me up, and they're not sorry, and da-da-da-da. She just needed to, and I'm like, you know what, she was really brave to let me know about that thing that was hurting, but also to allow me to heal her, or to be there for her therapeutically. Yeah. And then once she let that out, she started bubbling up about, oh, it's so nice that someone just got that and let that out. And then she started just babbling, talking, and I was like, oh, fuck, there's a lot of talking. And then we sort of, did the sexy thing, and
Mm-hmm.
she had orgasms because she felt that connection. And I
Nice.
thought, you know what, that shows you that it doesn't have to take years and years of relationship to find that intimacy or whatever. That was it's almost like short-circuiting the process to find intimacy. And I'm not, like, there's all kinds of different movies. There's short movies, long movies, or whatever. Not every relationship has to be epic, sort of Titanic, long 3-hour story. You can have short movies and comedy movies and different types. So this was a short movie. This was a short
Kind of like,
interaction. And
kind of like what you were saying behind the scenes earlier before we recorded was it doesn't matter how you get there as long as you
it
get
doesn't
there.
matter how you get there, and this was just an opportunity. But part of it was her being brave to allow that too. Because I think we all want these good outcomes, but you've got to be brave a little bit sometimes.
roadblocks up.
Yeah, it's sometimes some of these things are awkward.
Yeah, because you don't spoon me, you fucking weirdo. Like she
Yeah,
originally
like,
thought that, didn't she?
I think people think it's a sort of a pussy thing of like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy should be wanting to fuck me.
Yeah.
These other agendas are like, it's needy and it's weird and it's, and I've had that a lot where I've gone home with a girl and I'm like, if she doesn't give me the right permission or the right connection, then I'm like, I sort of don't want to just be meat puppets banging. I need a bit more than that.
Yeah.
And girls just presume this, and this is what I'm talking about, presumption of a gender as well. They presume that you're going to want that and want a certain thing. And I'm like, no, I'll go with that. And I've had a relationship with a lesbian and I love just kissing a girl or just, it doesn't have to always be about penetration.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone back with girls, kiss them all over, they're really turned on. But if I'd negotiated my way there by saying, look, I'll just sleep over, I won't push it, I need them to let me off the hook. If I say, okay, can I go down, is that all right? And they say, oh, you don't have to, I'm already turned on. I'm like, you're not giving me an answer. So I've been in that situation where the girl's really, really turned on, she's ready to go, her body is. But I'm like, I need your mind to be on board as well. Otherwise I'm going to get after the fact stuff of like, oh, well, you pushed it across the line or you did this and you did that. I'm like, no, I want your consent.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much stuff about not being consensual or, it's like, well, I need to be able to relax and let go too. So I need that consent to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So it was a standoff. It's like what do you call it? Checkmate, or where it's just a Mexican standoff where it's like, you go first, no, you go first, no, you go first. I mean, but that to me, that's not a failure. I didn't look at that and going, oh, well, there was no sex, so I failed. Like, I kind of think I got to kiss a really beautiful woman all over and massage her, and she felt good. I could see her glowing and sweating and feeling nice. So to me, that's a win.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't get to another level or whatever,
Yeah, it's not about the big release, is it? Sometimes
It doesn't
it's
have
about
to
the
be,
journey.
and you can go off in another room and do that. It should be
Yeah.
about, like, when I'm with a woman, I'm like, great, I've got this presence here to explore. I mean, it's like a lost continent. And I'm like, wow, there's a whole landscape here for me just to wander around and explore and smell and discover and like I said, the body has a memory. You're going to kiss or touch certain spots and they're going to have different responses, and that's part of the discovery.
Very true.
Yeah, and it's beautiful and exciting, enjoy that. That's intimacy, and you make oxytocin, a lot of really great brain chemistry, part of dating a lesbian where you put the blindfold on and your other senses come up. I mean, I was making oxytocin off the charts. Like, that feeling when you're first in love with somebody and your brain's just feeling so happy and full of oxytocin, which is the hormone of connection.
You need to fucking package that shit and sell it,
Oh
don't you?
man,
Oxytocin.
that's it. Well, it is actually really hard to sort of find, and you've got to. I supported a guy through the Royal Commission into Child Abuse, and a lot of people who've had trauma and abuse find difficulty in intimate relationships. But you've got to almost have that for yourself. And I was saying, you know what? You can block your ears and close your eyes in the shower and just feel the hot water from the inside of your body, and that way you're going to feel everything's close and it's real and it's near. That stimulates your oxytocin, or mindfulness when you're just eating your soup or something and you're just breathing in the vapor and the smell of it and the anticipation of it. Taking those moments is really important for your brain chemistry, because if you don't make oxytocin, everything's depressing and feels at a distance, like you don't have any impact on the world and everything is on a screen and you can't touch it or have any impact on it.
People completely bypass that process. It's all about the Tinder, it's about the swipes, it's about the release.
They don't realise they're really doing it to themselves by not cultivating biochemistry within it. You know, it's your people go, this person made me feel this and this is making me feel this. No one's making you feel it. Like you make your brain feel how you want it to feel.
But surely they're still getting that from the chase. Like it's the thrill of the chase, and the.
I think it's them. You know, watching the start of the Titanic movie and thinking, oh great, all this stuff's gonna come, and it's the anticipation of that rest of the story. But if they're in this little Groundhog Day loop of the first 5 minutes of the movie, they're never gonna get to the next bit or whatever. They're seeing it in the context of a greater, and I said, like, you know, what if it's a 5-minute short film? You're not going to get the epic story, so you've got to enjoy the moment now. If you're watching a 5-minute movie thinking it's Titanic, you've got to get very disappointed when it ends after a couple of minutes. And that's what's happening with people. I think they're expecting these big love stories that are epic, and then but some aren't, you know. But does that mean you can't enjoy a 5-minute movie? That every movie has to be Titanic?
Well, that's kind of seems to be where the world is going now with, you know, online videos. Are people going to not be able to sit through an epic movie anymore? Is it just like
attention span?
Yeah, we just got to binge watch 50 of them. Not one big one.
Yeah. Well, that's the fun of trailers too. Trailers are like a bite-sized chunk of a movie. So you can go, I kind of get where this is going, what's it about.
So you're a healer, Dan.
Yeah.
That's exciting, mate.
It is, but then negotiating how to use that. I mean, I describe myself as a male lesbian, but then how am I going to ever set up or communicate the idea of that to a woman that's up for that?
Yeah, you actually identify yourself as that?
Yeah. Look, in some sense, it's tough because in some senses it has to be a bit tongue in cheek because you're going to piss everybody off, basically. All the alphas are going to go, oh, what's that? And women are going to go, that's confusing, and confusion is not sexy. And then lesbians are going to go, you're trying to penetrate, this is a backdoor to our agenda, you're trying to penetrate our agenda. So you're going to, if you use that, either people are going to think, oh, he's just funny, or they're going to just totally shut it down. So, but I've blogged about it. There's a forum that I go on and talk about making oxytocin, talking about the non-penetrative sexual agenda, and you know, because I think it's an interesting thing to discuss.
Well, so why don't you just say you like eating pussy? Is that a better way to say it? Like, I like eating pussy. Would people be able to handle that more than saying that I'm a male lesbian?
Yeah, I don't know. It just sounds a little bit sort of crude, a bit crude. Yeah. I think maybe a bit too crude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it, certainly, but it's not just all about that either. I mean, you know, it's about using your hand and your mouth.
It's immersion. It's about immersing yourself in the moment.
It's about intimacy. It's about oxytocin. It's about actually making someone feel good, like physically, and not just trying to skip past that as foreplay onto something else, or, you know, enjoying another person and enjoying their presence. And there's so many quirky things about you know, each girl I've ever been with has got something different about her that's beautiful or that's interesting. And she'll sometimes do things that I had a girlfriend in my 30s that found this spot on my neck that when she kissed it or nibbled it, my toes would tingle. And I'd never known about that. And yet she took the time to discover that.
Yeah.
And I was, wow, someone's actually doing that to me and discovering me and helping me find out things about my sexuality.
What about you discovering you? Like, how do you handle your bit of me time?
Yeah. No, well, that's part of what I find really fascinating too. Because I am aware of my brain and my brain chemistry, it's like, if I want to recall a previous relationship and replay that because it makes my brain feel good, then I'll do that. Like, sometimes I'm like, I just imagine getting into bed at the end of the day and just spooning this girl and just smelling her hair and, you know, and falling asleep together and waking up in the same position. And, you know, if imagining that sort of makes my brain happy, then it's my brain. Well, you know. But then you've got to stay on the right side of that, because if you're imagining that for a while and then you go, but I just don't have it, then you've basically gone against that, and you're destroying what you've cultivated in your own chemistry and brain. And laws of attraction wise too, if you go out and you feel good, sometimes that attracts certain things as well. So if you go out there and you go, you know what, I'm totally fulfilled, I like to incorporate other people and incorporate sexuality, and if someone wants to be part of that, but you know, I'm this train and I'm going to keep going if you want to get on board it, but I've got my own agenda. The train's not going to chase you.
Yeah. Where is the Dan train headed for? What's on the agenda this week?
Yeah, look, I've got this extras part in a feature film film about the science fiction thing, and
So
I've
that's a
got
couple of
some
days'
music. I had a birthday, and someone contacted me who was a musician, a drummer, and I said, "Oh, look, here's what I've been up to musically," and sent him a couple songs that I'd written, and he liked them. We met up, and so looking at jamming the song, so basically singing it with his drumming, and then trying to find the rhythms and stuff. I've got stuff in my head, but then you know, when you're collaborating, you need to let the other person put in their bits and own it as well.
Can you collaborate well with other artists?
Well, yeah, it depends on the artist, but I mean, I think people who have been artists a while, who are in the right attitude,
AttitudeConsultant.com.
you know, are happy to collaborate, and I've collaborated with quite a few. This one director, I'd done some extras work on Anzac Girls a couple of years ago. The Anzac commemoration was 100 years, and so there was a lot of historic dramas getting made, and I can grow thick facial hair, so I'm good for moustaches and mutton chops, and so I was getting all this work, and I because I had my hair cut by the department to sort of look that way, I went in to pick up my pay, and my agent said, "Oh, can you do a French accent?" Yes, no problem. And she said, "Oh, they're casting for an aviator, a French aviator. These two guys, and it's just in the other room. But when you go in there, don't say I can do a French accent. Just be the French guy. So be Gerard or whatever So I'm like, I think I can do this. So I get this script with just a couple lines. I go in there and I'm, "Hello, it's nice to meet you. I am Gerard," and they say, "Oh, we're doing this movie, and the aviator, blah blah." And I'd actually done some laws of attraction on this, where when I'd been on the Anzac Girls shoot, I'm thinking, what would be nice is if you were like coming in reporting from the battlefield and going, "Oh, we're getting hammered, please pull us out." You know, some kind of really dramatic thing would be a way to get seen as a, you know, even a small, like I was talking about the one night stand as what's possible in a small moment. You know, this is like, well, if you had that moment on a screenway, you know, could you get across that you're a good actor in just one scene? And this was the kind of role that this was. I basically had to be this aviator who's just flown in and basically seen planes flying across. Imagine if you saw planes flying across your city, like Adelaide. Imagine if you saw an armada of like 20, 30 planes flying across, and you've got to report that to someone. I go in there and I'm like, you know, "I've just seen the planes flying from west to east above Paris." And I got the part, and so I'm on the set doing this line, and I've hit my mark and I do my line, and I got applause on set. I'm like, that never happens. And he was like, "Oh, do you want to do it again? I mean, that was great, but..." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. Do you want to do one different timing so you've got it for the edit?" And okay. And then because on the strength of that, he phoned the agent and said, "Can we have Dan?" So this is unusual and you see a lot in Hollywood where people use the same actors, like, you know, Robert Zemeckis might use, Tom Hanks, or, Spielberg uses some similar actors, and, you know.
And why wouldn't you use
So this is what was happening. I'm like, this is gold. This is sort of what you want as an actor when they start calling you. So he was like, we've got this businessman role. It's for a Department of Transport and Infrastructure internal video about corruption. And so basically I had to dress up as this businessman, and I had a little protege, and then so there's this scene where we're at a golf course, and this guy's basically, I'm accepting too many good gifts and stuff, and then my protege sitting at the table, and then there's a reporter at another table who blows up the story, so I get sort of done for corruption of accepting too many, nice things, and then I have to do this piece to camera where I'm tearing up, and, because it's really hurt my family, really trying to sort of be still. And I thought, you know what, if I play the other stuff straight, maybe even a little bit underacted, when I do this one sort of emotional bit at the end, people are going to think, wow, this is happening to a real person, not just someone who's trying hard to act every moment. So I'm like, you've got to save it up and know when to do your acting. Too much in your daily life, people are going to think you're gushy, and there's a proverb about don't throw your pearls before swine, because the pigs will just trample your pearls into the mud, and you've got to know when to show the best of yourself or whatever, because otherwise it's just not going to be appreciated. I mean, you can put yourself on the internet and people go, wow, too much, it's overshare or whatever. I mean, got to know where and when.
We all make that mistake.
But that's about listening to the other person and responses, and waiting for that correct response. Like this girl that I really like, that I wrote these songs for, and part of the message of the song is I'm giving this without agenda. I'm not trying to do this to sort of push an agenda, you know. But it's up to her to respond or not. Just because I feel a certain way about her doesn't mean that she has to act a certain way in return. You know, I've written a couple songs about her now and sent them to her, and you know, she likes them. She's like, I like this one, but then there's not more response than that. So you know, that's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, time and a place, you know, and if I get that time and that place, then yeah, then other things will be possible.
I guess that's where Stainthorpe or your alter egos can come in handy as well, is because you're creating a context or a space where you can be a bit silly.
Oh, look, having a character, and you would know this too from all the different characters you'd had.
That was my alarm clock to get out of bed.
Sorry I got you up so early.
No, you're right, mate. Like I said before, I don't have anything to do till fucking 6 o'clock.
No attitudes to consult.
No attitudes to consult but my own.
Attitude Consultant.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up? You've got to go and check Google what Miley Cyrus has been up to overnight in the US.
I don't.
So you're up to date.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore. Everyone else does. It's a shrine. Look at it. It's the Miley shrine.
Yeah. Big Miley Cyrus.
Yeah. Yeah, being Miley Cyrus, I thought that'd be great to shoot.
Yeah. Like a porthole into Miley's head?
Yeah.
Where you get spat out after 5 minutes onto the
Exactly.
New Jersey turnpike.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I want to do a little short film of that, being Miley Cyrus.
It would be interesting, actually, all the people that were lining up to be Miley Cyrus. It's my head, man! It's my head!
Yeah, I reckon.
Apparently, that bit where someone throws a can is that think quick Malkovich and throws a can and it hits. Apparently, that just happened while they were shooting.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? You'll love those moments.
Love it.
Yeah. So you're making stuff now. What was I saying before? You just got to put yourself out there.
Yeah. Once I've made these songs, I'm gonna think about maybe making music videos for them and stuff as well. So it gives me a whole sort of trajectory. So yeah, I've got one song. It's called Valentine's Day. So the idea is that Valentine's Day is a bit heavy. It's a bit agendaed.
Yeah.
And birthdays are kind of a lot friendly, or you can say, you know, have the best day, you're the best. And so maybe a day in between where I like this girl, but I'll make up my own day so that if I can say it, then I control the rules. So the verses kind of explain it.
Yeah.
And then the chorus is, 'cause it's not hard work to make and not work for my heart's thoughts to display. And it's alright to hang it proudly on Valentine's Day. Got a thesaurus for the chorus, for the right words to convey, in a song that I'll sing proudly on Valentine's Day. And so I've used the chords, the D, G and A from pretty much everything, but Ed Sheeran used the DGA, and I had just learned Castle on the Hill and Thinking Out Loud, and they're both DGA. And they've got this other run that goes ding, 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 ding. So I've used that as well.
Nice.
And and then I wrote this other song about, and the idea behind that is, imagine if you could look at a crowd and everyone had a vinyl record hovering above their head, and you're like, yeah, I reckon this guy would be a country album. You know, and this girl would be maybe a dance music album, and then this one, you know, like imagine if everyone had an album to express themselves.
To profile them.
Yeah, and you could guess, you'd be looking at the crowd and guessing what kind of album. And so it's basically this girl like, the sort of verse is, your smile was the hit single that's got stuck in my mind. You got the catchiest lyrics and I hang on every line. But I don't know your verses yet, so I'm stuck in a loop. I just repeat your chorus and it's got me with its hook. But I want to hear your album, yeah, your cover looks cool. Not just your hit single, but all your other tracks too. I want to hear your voice express all your thoughts and your moods. And I want to hear your album so I can get down to your groove. So it's about sort of, if I heard your hit single, like that surface thing that you're projecting.
Yep.
That gets me interested and curious, but I want to hear your album, I want to hear the filler tracks, or I want to hear just you expressing yourself, because then I can get into your groove, I can connect.
Nice. That's great. I like that.
And then I've got this bridge part, you know, sometimes there's that one album, knowing each line gets you through. And when I hear your melody, I hope that album could be you. and then, woo, yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah. What would your album be if you had an album above your head?
I think it'd be a compilation of different sounds. And in fact, when I'm writing this, I'm thinking this is like a soul track. But I've got these, the other one's like an Ed Sheeran track. And it'd be nice to do an album where each track was a different sound from a different, and I'd like to have a dance music song and a...
Okay, so you'd be like
I'd like to be
100% hits
multi-genre.
Volume 4 or something.
Yeah, and sometimes you get interesting things by crossing genres over.
Yeah.
Where you get, like you get that Bollywood sound with a rap track, or where they put the, the Indian music, like there's fusions which become interesting as well. So,
oh, you're on the right track, mate. I like this. You just need to be able to sustain that. Like,
you know what? I hope that those things are creative and interesting enough as stories in of themselves that they could become elevated because they're interesting or fun or catchy or they've got appeal.
Yeah.
Without me having to sell out, or I don't know, like hopefully with this drummer that I've met, that we can jam these songs, get some nice feels to them. I mean, if he's on the same page, and I think he is,
yeah,
we could come up with something really good. Lay some bass lines down. This stuff could really cook. And if I like artists like Prince would write like 60 songs and then pick the best 10 songs for an album. So if it could be a little bit prolific, churn out quite a lot of songs, chances are greater then that one or two of them is going to connect or work. Yeah, like if we recorded one or two songs and then had a GoFundMe or a crowdfunding page to actually go, what, if you think the stuff's good, do you want to see a little bit slicker or a little bit better videos or But you think that hits is what drives it. If you put a song like that up with a video and it gets tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or greater, the hits is what's going to drive the traffic and what's going to drive the interest. And then people are going to go, great, you've done this thing that got a million hits. Then they're prepared to put the money up because they can see that it's got appeal or that it's in the real world.
Do you spreadsheet?
I think I reverse engineer ideas where I go, where do we want to be, and then what are the steps I've got to take to get there.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how my brain works. Yeah.
All right. So
because sometimes you can work off, let's just do at the start and just see what happens. But I think if you have a clear idea, and the best way to get that is to, like, I love autobiographies. Quite like reading, Richard Branson's, for example, because it shows what step one is, what's how that leads to the next step. So he's writing some stuff for a student magazine while he's at uni, and then there's a mail order thing on the back page to order records, and he's like, cool, uni's done, but I've still got all these people who want to buy records. Keeping that going, and then there's enough traffic to sort of open a record store. So choosing that, and then it's one thing leads to another, and so on and so on, and then he was distributing other people's product, going, these people suck, they're forcing me all these rules, I've got to look for bands and sign them. So he was looking for bands, signing them, recording them. That wasn't working for a while, but one of these artists, this electronic artist was coming in on the weekends when everyone was out gigging, setting up his electronic stuff, recorded this album, which was almost one big long track that no one could play on the radio, but it got this guy on the radio said, this is brilliant, played it in its entirety, and then it got licensed for The Exorcist as Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield, became this massive record, and that bankrolled the company. And so then they can use that money to do other things, and eventually he sold Virgin Records and he got into Virgin Airlines, and then competing with British Airways. But you don't just start one day owning an airline, and you don't just start one day owning a record company. You've got to look at, if that's where you want to go, reverse engineer it. Look at how somebody else did the steps, and it's not going to be the same for you, because it's not going to be. You're in a different era than Richard Branson now.
And what was the book? Reach for the Stars? Is that what the book is? Something of Virgin, or
I think Losing My Virginity.
Losing My Virginity, yeah.
I think so, yeah. And there's different versions of it and update versions and stuff. But also, you look at their failures and how they recovered. Like this, one of the stories is he was going to sign this band and went to this cafe, and the cafe owners brought in some joints, like to smoke. And the deal didn't happen, and he didn't know why. And then he read afterwards in the autobiography of the lead singer of this band, who was Mark Knopfler, and the band was called the Dire Straits, who went on to be massive.
Yes.
And that first big Brothers in Arms album was massive, so he missed out on this really big album. But the autobiography said, we were close to signing, but then he gave us these joints, and I thought, why is he trying to cloud our minds or our judgment? Is he trying to get this deal across? So because of this basically the guy who runs the cafe being nice and giving him these things, you know what I mean? Like it clouded up this whole deal. Misalignment. But did he end it there and go, oh, fuck. I mean, a lot of people have misalignment like that, and they go, oh, I worked for this deal all my life, or this thing, or this alignment. I've been holding out, waiting.
Yeah.
You can't just look at the times that it didn't line up. You just got to persist. Find that strength to persist. And you don't have to persist at a high level. You can go back to a lower level, whatever you can do it at. It's very hard to persist at a high level.
One thing I'm finding difficult is trying to work out what I have control over and what I haven't. Like what is the traffic and what is in my head? Like how do I bridge that?
That's a really, really, really good point. Because there are things you control and there's things that you can't. Knowing the difference is really tough sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's about, I don't know, it's like to use the Force, Luke. It's sort of a leap of faith and I think with confidence, you just got to build confidence, and you've got to build that kind of knowledge just by trying stuff. You've just got to evolve and be okay with the process of evolution. Yeah. I don't think there's anything you can just flick a switch and know that stuff. Yeah. I think you've got to just evolve it and just try things. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've done is just by trying it. Who would have thought I could get paid for such a long time dressing up as a nerd? I mean, people are like, how do you get a job doing that? It's just me putting the suit on, showing up at the club. And
it's not work, is it? It's fun.
Yeah, that's right. But it's also putting it out there. I didn't go and sit down in a meeting and pitch it to him and say, look, I'm going to maybe get this costume.
You were just in the right place.
I showed up already doing it.
Yeah.
But that's about having that train and going, you know what, this train is leaving the station, it's already doing it. If you want to get on board, do it. But it's about finding a way to do that anyway. And it was and I could do it at that level. It wasn't expensive for me to go to a secondhand shop, get the suit and whatever. And I've heard other people do this, like there's a story of Elijah Wood who got the part of Frodo, and they were looking for their Frodo. Peter Jackson was in New Zealand and he's trying to cast Lord of the Rings, and a big epic talking about big epic stories. This was one over, 3 big long movies and extended versions and all of that. But he went to a costume shop, got a Hobbit costume, and got some stuff from the book. He didn't even wait for a script or whatever, and he just did some stuff from the book in a costume or whatever, because he was trying to go, you know what, here it is, here's this end point.
Yeah, they want it packaged. They don't want to.
And it's kind of like pre-commitment too. They want something that's already there and ready to go. But sometimes being there and ready to go is quite expensive and hungry on resources. Yeah. Like I thought at one stage, I need to go where the work is as an actor. So I heard, okay, they're making Pirates of the Caribbean 5 in Queensland. So I went over there, I got a one-way ticket, and I'm thinking, that's gonna burn my bridge. I'm gonna have to get this job to get the money to get back out of town. I had my laptop. I was sleeping on the steps of a church. I couldn't even afford the accommodation. I was going to the library to use the Wi-Fi to check up on where are the auditions and try and research stuff. I found a local agent, and they're like, they're not hiring. They were looking for people 3 months ago that were already living in the right areas to be extras and that. Because Disney co-branding would be great and hopefully lead to other stuff, or at least get on the radar, or at least be able to mention in your story, oh, by the way, I did this, big movie with Disney or whatever, as far as there. For the CV. But yeah, I basically just tried to, take my own advice more or less and just go where the work is, and it didn't work out. But I had an adventure, and I had some other really crazy, interesting spiritual stuff happened, and then I got a phone call while I was there, do you want to be my support person in the Royal Commission of Child Abuse? And I said, yeah, I'm kind of doing this. And he's like, it's expenses paid, they'll fly you down. I'm like, well, there's my ticket out. I said, yeah, in the 2 weeks I will, after a month and a half, I'll be ready to not do this anymore. And so yeah, they flew me down to Ballarat, and it was cheaper and easy to get home from it's only $60 on a bus to Melbourne. Yeah, so sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it's not. You've got to be okay with it not working though. Like if I'd have stayed there for 6 months trying to do it or whatever and gotten sick, or you've got to know when to limit how much you're putting out in resources. And this is with all relationships. Relationships with your friends and stuff, it has to be both ways. If they're taking more than they're giving, address it and say, look, I think you're taking more than you're giving. But then know when to cut off, and if they're asking too much, you've got to say, look, I would if I was getting it both ways, but I'm not, and not in an escalatory yelling kind of big way, a drama way. It doesn't have to be a big drama. You can just say, look, I just feel this is
just passive. Yeah.
And I've had to cut friends off in not getting that, who are asking for stuff, and why I'm always going to their place and they never come to mine, or why are they always I'm giving them favours and I ask for the smallest thing, and they're like, no, I don't really feel like doing that.
I see that about you. I see you giving so much, but
accounting for things, and that's where people also, they do this in relationships, where if you account for it bit by bit, if I gave this and then you did how much, then when you start getting to the nuts and bolts of it, then it falls apart too, because it becomes a transaction.
Yeah, no,
I mean, do it in your head, but don't reduce the whole thing to a transaction and make that, it's sort of a really, really tough line to walk. I mean, I made this film once for the Trop Fest. It was my thing. I was, after Big Brother, I got given a camera and I wanted to make, so I made this film called Closet Space, where a guy's trying to rent out his closet. And I asked this friend of mine called Rowan Harry.
Oh, great guy, good mate of mine. Yeah.
To be it was one of the characters you played. And got him to be the lead guy. And it was really fun to make the movie. It was tough editing it. My computer was getting hot trying to edit it in time for the Trop Fest. It didn't really get a great edit. It didn't get picked as a 16 film. I thought, what do I learn from this though? Because I didn't really turn it around and get it. And then Rowan phones me up and he says, look, I do this stand-up thing every year. Next year, I want to do a musical. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, right. Well, yeah, what do you need from me? And then there was this long pause. And I'm like, producer puts up the money? And he sort of nodded sheepishly. And I'm like, well, how much? And you put a figure on it. And I'm like, you know what? This could go either way. I don't know much about this project. He played me a couple songs from the thing. Yeah. And I felt like, this is like George Lucas pitching Star Wars to 20th Century Fox, and I don't know about the story of Wookiees with no pants, or I don't get it. I don't know which way it could go, but I trust that I believe in the talent of this guy. I know he's done successful shows. I know he knows what an audience likes. I know he can put this together. So I said, yeah, let's do it. So I backed this show called Centrelink The Musical. And I had shot some video for this other comedian, Mark Trenwith. And so I'm at this Mark Trenwith show. I had this tag around my neck because Rowan had given me this VIP producer's sort of behind the scenes tag to get all the VIP areas for the Fringe. Yeah. And so I'm sitting down in the audience, and so this girl's like, do you know this guy? I'm like, yeah, I shot some video for this thing. And she goes, oh, what's the tag around your neck from though? And I said, oh, that's from Centrelink The Musical. I'm kind of behind the scenes on this. And she says, oh, how do I get tickets for that? And I think, is she trying to get tickets off me, for free or something? And I said, you get them from all the normal outlets. And she says, no, you don't. It's totally sold out. Yeah. And Rowan had been so busy putting this thing together and literally almost pulling his hair out.
It fucking sold itself though, Daniel.
It had sold out, and it was a heat wave. So if we had not sold that out, I don't know if we would have got the... And so I got my money back, plus I got my 10%.
Yeah, but I wish I could have given you more, because we probably need to do that accounting thing. I wasn't expecting it to sell out. Like, it sold out within 2 weeks.
Because I don't know what would have happened if
I had two songs. I had 2 songs, and that was all. I didn't have a script. Yeah. I didn't have a team. I didn't have any actors.
But it was nice for me at that stage to cross the floor and be a supporter and a producer, instead of being the guy that's always please, and how do I do this? Get an audition, trying to break through from underneath. It's like I get to swap to the other side of the floor and get to say, you know what, Rowan, you are talented. I love what you do. I've gone and videoed your shows for competitions and stuff. You bring the house down. You're a funny guy. I relate, I think, personally to some of the characters because of my nerd character and stuff. So there's a kind of simpatico there. Yeah. But I'm like, it was so empowering for me, and I was like, I want to go to the first show before it gets to the public. So I went to that show, and then I don't want to see it during the thing, and I'm going to go to the last show as well to see the trajectory of it. So I did that, and I thought, this is good. It's a really good thing we backed. And then I waited and I saw the last show, and I just saw this evolutionary process that had happened. So there was this whole bit added where the Bogan guy who was reminiscent about, bring back the 80s and 90s. This used to be so easy just to, and he's a couple employers short for his job seeker diary. So he goes into the audience. And so they'd added this interactive sort of...
Yeah, that was credit to Ross's direction. Yeah, he was great.
And he went into the audience. And this is when I realised too that basically, if you had bricklayers and you said this is Bricklayer the Musical, you'd get a load of bricklayers. So, because you're saying this is Centrelink the Musical, half the audience or more was people who work in Centrelinks coming, let's just see what they've made of my profession and whatever. And so he'd go in the audience, he'd go, where do you work? I work at Centrelink. Yeah, okay, this never happened. Move on. Where do you work? I'm a masseur. Great, I don't mind touching people. What's the number? And
totally breaking the fourth wall.
Breaking the fourth wall. It was so interactive. It was beautiful, and there was laughs, and it was warm, Yeah. And I thought, this is genius stuff, and that's the stuff that's not in the script, or when someone's pitching something, you don't know where that's going to come from.
Oh, it was so good at the time,
and I thought it was, because it had gone so successful and it was so good, I thought, oh, man, maybe I'm going to be a theatre producer now. Maybe after this, Rowan's going to come back the next year and pitch me something else, and then the year after that, and it will get bigger and bigger, and, before we know it, we'll need good contracts, and we'll grow it, and it'll evolve. There was this offer, apparently, that Centrelink, the head office, had asked, can you perform some of it, or even just the songs
that happened
at our at annual event at the entertainment centre. And I thought, this is great. If we get in good with them, maybe we could film this as a film product. So I said, okay, how about we try and get on the weekend when they're not open and film the musical in an actual Centrelink, and then do a Blu-ray or DVD where when they do a musical number, it cuts to the live audience, and then they kind of go, oh, we're back in the real world, and then it goes back into sort of, have a version that cuts between the two, and then have one whole live and one whole, studio version of the movie, just to be a bit different and stand out, because that's my brand, is to be a bit, trying to push the envelope. But I pitched that, and I thought, and then, the answer was, well, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and then everyone would want their slice, and
that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And I learned so much from that, and
that was a win for me. And you don't, when you invest in stuff, like I've tried to invest in shares and stuff over the years, you're going to have your successes, and you're going to have your walk away even Stevens or not. That was a win for me emotionally, because I was involved in it firsthand. That show, looking at the show at the end of it, going, this may not have happened if I hadn't put my hand up and backed this. There's all these people in this room having a great time. These actors getting an acting gig and getting paid, and this whole thing might not have happened if I hadn't become
for sure.
producer.
And it looked horrible on paper,
right?
Like the way I'd set it up, and that was the
problem. And I had a friend, Jason, used to work in Centrelink, and I said, look, I'm going to ask him, and I gave him a call, and I said, do you think that they would sue and stuff for use of their name? And he said, look, there's people writing defamatory books about it, and they don't get sued, so go for it. I'm like, it's a free ticket. Well, there was one other issue with I think at one stage, the Bogan guy starts to sing, we gotta get out of this place, and someone said, call Amcos, and
APRA rang me personally, and I think I said, all correspondence must be in writing. You need to call info@productions.org, attention to junk mail, and then I hung up on them, and I didn't hear back. Didn't hear back. But I had about 2 people try to sue me. I had one woman try to shut down the opening night. She basically says, I'm doing this project called Wank for the Mole, and she said, basically, you stole my intellectual property, right? I demand 10%, plus you need to put this is adapted by Wank for the Mole. And I basically wiped my ass with it. It was like me, Adam the writer, and the guy from the venue.
Oh my God!
This is fucking bogus, man. And I literally
those behind the scenes stories are fascinating, because you're often thinking, what would happen if this, and that's a lot of this question I get about Big Brother of like, what would happen? And I say, I'm like, look, I got weird. I got all kinds of fan mail. I got people sending me books they'd written. I got young girls sending inappropriate pictures. I got this one of the most fascinating ones was I got this email saying, look, here's a picture of Wayne. We think he's really like you, and in fact, it's almost, he's such a similar personality type that watching you, it's almost like he doesn't have to go on the show now, because your success is basically shows us that he would have been successful. And I'm like, no, that's interesting. And they said, he was our son, he died 3 years ago, and it's been like having him back to watch you on TV. And how do you respond to that? You're not expecting, I'm like, that just turned a corner. I did not expect to go from, you remind us of this guy, to that's our beloved son. I mean, it could be compared to someone's family in such a loving or beloved way. I'm like, oh man, that's interesting and sort of unexpected.
Wow.
Isn't it? Wow.
Were you able to provide closure for that family?
He even liked some of the music I liked and stuff, and some of it was spooky. I was like, he's got good taste in music. It's weird, but I was just, you've got to say just thanks, because you can't. I'm like, what do you do? Yeah, I'm just glad they had a good experience of it. And I had people saying, that they'd moved to Sydney or another place, and because there was this up late thing which was live streaming, they were like, I'd get home from work and I'd put it on, and because it was live, it felt like I was hanging out with you. So I felt like you were my Sydney friends. And I'd be in Melbourne or Sydney, I'd get people going, oh, hey, Dan. And we'd have a catch-up as if we were old friends, and I'd never met them. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, my daughter's doing this now, and she's in dance classes. I'm sitting having coffee with someone, and I'm telling them what I've done since Big Brother, as if we were catching up with old friends. It's weird.
Tell me more about the sexy
like
pictures you were sending. I'm interested in that. Did you whack off to any fan mail?
Most of it was just inappropriate. They're either too young or it's their mothers. There's the mothers and the, there's nothing in between. No, not actually anything you can do anything
just
about.
Either old or too young.
Yeah. I had some stalker fans.
Yeah.
Most of them, if I shut it down and said this is inappropriate, they'd sort of, and agree and just stop. But then there's ones who didn't stop and just come to where I'm working. And
what's the most sauciest picture?
I had some girls sending me pictures as if it was a CV. Here's my acting thing, here's my measurements, and as if they were applying for a job. Because, I mean, I think that's partly because I was wanting to make films, and they were like, maybe I could be in one of your films. So that's sort of... but I'm is that a subject? And they kind of... Because it was sort of a come-on at the same time, and I'm like, yeah, it's weird. You're getting all kinds, though. Or even just like, I'm Ryan, and I'm in Tasmania, and I like watching you, and here's a picture I drew of you, and maybe you could send your favourite recipe for a recipe book that our school's doing. There's that kind of stuff.
That's fascinating.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah, that's surreal.
You get a gamut of all kinds of reactions.
And then you're going back
one
to
woman
intensity.
contacted me from a group called Star Bear, and they said we were a charity to support children who are bereaved, who've had a brother or sister or a parent lost, because your story is that you've had your parents pass away.
Yeah.
And so I went to these Star Bear events and just chatted with kids about, it's okay to feel shit about this. And I think, and I kind of asked them, because I'm interested in storytelling, I'm asking, who's Star Bear? And I came up with this whole story of how Star Bear was in a community of bears in the forest, but started as a human child wandering into the forest, and then this family of bears adopting the child, but saying, look, just to get on in society, we need you to wear this bear costume so that people don't ask too many weird questions and you don't stand out too much. So he goes along with it, grows up with his family of bears, and then every year they give him a bigger bear suit, whatever, as he's growing. And had the story about how sometimes you need the idea of, this is basically like an idea for kids where we put on this persona or put on this suit to get out in the world and just be functional, but sometimes it's okay to unzip and just be yourself outside of that bear suit, that you're getting along in bear society. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of a metaphor for that, to just try and have a backstory about who Star Bear is. And I thought, maybe one year he takes the star off the Christmas tree and he puts it under his pillow and wishes on the star, and that's why he's Star Bear. And then there's one moment where he breaks down in front of the whole group and says, I can't take this, unzips and reveals who he is. And then across the other side of the room, someone else unzips and goes, yeah, well, I wandered into the forest too. And it's just like, wow, it's not just me. Sometimes we feel alone when anything bad's happening. We feel like, fuck, why is the sun shining on everyone else and it's raining poo on me? Yeah. And there's this isolating thing when you feel bad or separate, and that compounds it. If you're feeling bad and you feel separate as well, that times it, puts a little squared kind of 2 on the corner of it or something. So the idea was, maybe in the right circumstances, it's okay to take your bear costume off and just unbear your soul, or, and then you
just as long as you're not doing it to the swine.
Don't throw it before the swine.
Yeah.
The pigs in the forest.
Yeah.
Sounds like Angry Birds now, isn't it?
It is Angry Birds. I fucking hate birds. They're demons of the sky.
Fuck. I do a seagull impression, like, and I swear you, I did this one time down at Glenelg, and this seagull just did not like it, and was, no, you do not, and it was just giving me what for. He was coming back with his, he was flying, flapping in my face. I thought, I bit him off more than I could chew. I must have actually chanced on saying a particular insult in the seagull language.
Yeah, you insulted his family.
Yeah. And I did this one time too at the Royal Show where they've got the bird pavilion, and me and my friend, we would, there was a turkey, and so I was doing the turkey noise, and this turkey had a go, and I think, it'd be funny to sort of subtitle this, because it's almost like I'm saying, can we take a photo? And then it's like, no, I'm not on show right now. And I'm like, well, you're a showbird. I'm a prize winner, but I'm got to get ready for my thing first. You don't just take photos behind the scenes like this in my underwear, I'm
going to take a quick break for a sec. Are you all right if I just keep it rolling for a second while I have a coffee? Do you want a coffee?
Oh, yeah, no, you go ahead. No, I'm all right. I'm not a big coffee man. I had my one per day.
All right.
I don't want to over-caffeine it. I've heard people get addicted, and
no worries, mate.
I sort of have my 1 coffee per day rule.
It is a stimulant.
Yeah. I do like the mochachinos. I do like the slight little chocolate in there.
Yeah. Milo.
Yeah, and I'd like to put cream in. just a little bit of fat to smoothen it out.
Yeah.
Better than milk or, a bit of cream in your coffee. Recommend that.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the,
It's good to have a bit of cream around, to put
Yeah.
in your mash if you're having mashed potato. Cream it up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's good. It's got a few uses.
Yeah, I just have my coffee long black, but I don't mind a bit of cream in it. This is really powerful stuff, man.
Is it?
Yeah, fuck yeah. This is
Oh, look, if people ask me for an honest, honest answer or an honest story, I'm happy to give it. It's just, part of it is you receiving it well.
No,
and I
it's
think with interviews, I've noticed this too. Like when you see Andrew Denton or some of the best sort of interviewers, they draw stuff out of the person just by being a good listener.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning. It's like
You've got to be a sponge, and it's like a horse whisperer. You can't run at the horse and demand stuff from the horse, but if you just go and you draw it out, you're going to get some interesting things.
With no agenda. Like just completely throw your agenda out.
Like on topic, because that's the other thing too. If you keep pushing it back to the topic and getting on topic.
Yeah.
Like I've got stories and points to make, but if you interrupt them, then before I made the point. You know what I mean? Like
I've done that a couple of times, and I'm trying to pick up on that. And a couple of times in that interview, I'm like, oh no, and I'm like, no, just.
And then you
keep
saw it
going.
come back onto making a point, and
Yeah. Like earlier stuff when I'm like, let's talk about Big Brother. I shouldn't do that. Like, don't do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
some valuable ideas in it, but there's too much presumed agenda that I would have to bring it up for ego or for and this is the other thing I learned from this radio course I did too, is that you've got to be punchy and short on radio, but I'm too long-winded to sort of fit in that box.
Oh no, but that's right.
And even with this song, my Valentine's Day, the verses are really, really long.
Yeah,
they're like a double verse.
No, I'll cut all that out. I'll be so. It's going to take me.
No, I didn't sing the verses this time, but just an example of how I'm long-winded. And so that second song, the album about the single in the album, that was a lot more punchy.
Yeah,
I've got to get punchier.
Well, that's what's so great about podcasts is I can punch the shit out of it. Like I can't do that in a live scenario.
That's the other thing too. Is always a situation where you think, oh, I should have said this, and you think about it after the fact, or And I've got a friend with an intellectual disability, and I'm like, well, sometimes you can pre-think. If like all of us, if we're going to an interview, we prepare for it. If they ask me this, I've got so that when they ask you, boom, you've got an answer straight away. You don't have to think about it.
Yep.
So like there's certain situations where you think you can prepare for it, but then sometimes you can't. Something happens that's so random. And then afterwards you think, oh, I should have said this, I should have done that. You can't always be too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Your brain's only going to work at a certain speed, and
yeah. Just to probably close it off.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something that's going to help my editing side of it.
Ooh.
In terms of the format, every guest I ask them what success means to them, because it's just a sort of a starting point.
Yeah.
It's almost like a little icebreaker.
That's what it was nice to talk a little bit about our personal history as well.
Yeah. It's just storytelling.
Yeah.
Really. It started off as surreal comedy. Just started interviewing my mates. And now I don't even know what the fuck it is now.
That sounds like that's good, because that not knowing and that mystery means that you're open to it being something good.
Yeah.
If you've got a very specific idea, like I was talking about the end point and reverse engineering it, if you've got that end point, you're going to try and push it, squeeze it through that hole.
Yeah.
So it's sort of nice to just let's see where it flows and go with that, and fan the flames of that.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm glad it's working for you. I'm glad you're getting the results, because that's exactly my philosophy as well. I'm hoping that writing these songs could lead to stuff. Even like I said, being in the extras role and then leading to another role or whatever. I'm hoping this director will phone me up again and say, I've got something else for you.
Oh, definitely. No, good things will come out of it as soon as you start putting yourself out there.
Yeah. If it works, yeah.
And doing extra work, like a lot of people, their egos get in the way of that. It's like, I'm not a fucking extra. Like,
oh, look, I've got a friend like this too. One of the guys I met on set, he's kind of thinking, I'm in a Groundhog Day, I'm just doing all this extras work, and I'm like, at least you're getting the work and the experience, and that builds your confidence. And sometimes they need a featured extra, so sometimes you get to do something. That's what happened on Anzac Girls. They got me to be the guy that's sort of tearing up, and that adds in the cut, that adds a bit of emotion to the sort of like a memorial scene. But sometimes they won't want that, and sometimes you're right at the back where you're unnoticed. But
it's good money for standing around all day.
I tell you what, it is, yeah. You get, like, if you're featured or you've got a script, you're going to get paid more, but you're going to be in and out a lot quicker. Yeah. Whereas an extra, you get a lot, it's a lot more hours.
Yeah.
at a lower pay rate. But
get over yourself. It's
Yeah.
money that you would be spending rather than earning. Well, for me personally, like I've got to go do this pub quiz in an hour's time, right? And the venue, they're a bunch of like he's a but
hope he's not listening to this, but
well, I hope he is.
oh,
Like, because I've confronted him on it because like he actually was really, really stressing me out for the point where I was losing money because of the gig, but I continued to do it because it was I know it's going somewhere.
right.
Do you know what I mean? Like I know I'm getting
because you can see a forward potential to it.
well, there's forward potential because I'm getting more venues out of it, and
Right.
the venues are growing, and I'm actually really enjoying the people.
Okay.
I'm meeting some great people,
And this is you focusing on the good bits, because this is what we all have to need to do as a skill:
Yeah.
is navigate, focus on the good bits, try and work our way towards the good bits and away from the bad bits, and navigate it.
yeah,
Not just shut it off or not. It's like you don't have to do it or not do it. You can navigate it.
yeah, definitely.
But so Yoda was, when he's like, do or do not. There is no try. That works on certain things, but
Yeah,
you're
yeah, and sometimes it's even just doing
That's
doing what you think is the right thing to do, and putting up with the shit sometimes is
knowing
the
the
right
difference
thing to
is
do.
the hard part. I feel here too I should plug my own thing, which is I've got this a quiz night coming up for a retro group called the ARC, Adelaide Retro Computing Group, and I'm
Yep.
doing it as my nerd character.
Fantastic.
So I'm going to have to lose this whole beard after this extras role.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah.
what's the fine details of that one?
We meet like once a month, I think, or so, at the Unley Town Hall, and they approached us because they've got a lot of events for girls and daughters, and they wanted something for fathers and sons, so they've hosted us there. Really nice venue.
Cool.
You could look it up for all the details. I don't
so get a lot of Adelaide
memorise it all.
listeners.
I think you can't just show up though. You've got to pre-book the ticket. So if you are keen on it, you've got to get on.
Where do they go to for the tickets, Dan?
Oh, dude, I don't even know.
Okay.
It's all on. There's an ARC Facebook page, and
Okay. Cool.
there's all the details on there.
All right.
I won't
sweet.
pretend I know, because otherwise, if I get it wrong, then I'm steering the ship
Yeah. No,
in
that's
the wrong
fine.
direction. So yeah.
Yeah.
But I've heard some of the questions, and yeah, there's a variety of stuff. It's not just one thing. So written by 3 or 4 people, I think. So there's all kinds of different topics. So. Should be fun, and there's a bit of a barbecue, so that your money, it's like an $8 charge, and it pays for I was going to say a sausage and some onions and a piece of bread, but I don't know. Maybe that's a huge liability. Maybe I should warn people that it pays for that as well, so you don't hurt yourself, kill yourself or whatever it is.
Oh, fucking like everyone's protecting themselves, aren't they? So I said to the Strata committee, I said, you guys are bending me over, me up the and then billing me for the condom
My
afterwards.
strata went through the roof. We used to pay like $200 or $300 a quarter. Now it's up to $700 because we've got
Sinking fund, is it?
No, we've got a strata manager.
Oh, yeah.
When we were self-managed, we had a sinking fund up to 20 or 30,000, and then it got
Yeah.
spent doing all the windows up, and now we're down to nothing. And then that's levies for everything now, plus a management charge. So
Yeah,
that's why partly I'm going to sell out.
I'd
of my
definitely
place
sell
and
it.
Get a hit
Sell
of
the
capital
place
and
for
move
sure.
on. I've had it for 20 years, so I've had a bit of capital. Addition to it, but I've tried to renovate it and don't do that. That's a nightmare too. So
We spoke about this about 10, 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was because it was an inheritance, wasn't it?
I started with an inheritance, and got this place in the 90s, and I'd rented it in 97, and in 99 I put an offer in for $60,000, and I got a 2-bedroom unit, basically in Glenelg East for
Okay,
$60,000,
so
and then they go at the peak of the market, they go for about 240. But I won't get that because I renovated it and I didn't finish, so I'm gonna strip that bathroom.
Do you find your emotional connection to the place makes it harder for you to sell it?
I think I'm ready to move on. I had a big emotional, because it was this epic Titanic journey where it was gonna, that finish point was gonna happen, and because I've got to let go of that end point and just move on now, because otherwise I'll be spending the rest of my life just trying to chip away at this goal. For what? Mm-hmm. Who am I trying to prove it to?
Yeah, that's good. Fucking move on, man. Sell it.
Plus, they hit a capital. I could really do things with that. I'm ready to invest in myself and not in shares and everybody else's ideas.
Yep.
Maybe Centrelink The Musical too, but the
No,
rest
that's
of
not
it
going to
just my own
happen.
idea.
That's not going to happen. But your brand, definitely. Yeah.
The next Rowan Harry project, whatever it is. Maybe I'll get the call.
No, I'm
pitch.
all on black for attitude consultant. It's working out for me.
Yeah, and that's a brand. Yeah,
Yeah.
one, that's what we're talking about. You've got to learn how to sustain at that level.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't go bigger. I've seen heaps of businesses try and get big contracts, and if they don't pay, boom, that kills the business. So, be where you're at now. That's a really good. Talking the attitude consultant, that's a really good attitude.
AttitudeConsultant.com.
Yeah, and for some people that's success, and you're talking about what is success.
What does success mean to you?
Well, success is it's emotion and a feeling too. You could put markers on it, but if you put markers on, I need this to be successful, I need this to be successful, it's always going to be just beyond grip. I want to write a song, or one of these ideas I've got for a song is called a singularity. But the idea of a singularity is about this perfect thing where two parallel lines eventually meet up. It's sort of an impossible moment but the thing is, if you work towards perfection as a direction, that's great, but you'll never get there. It's not a destination. You never become perfect. You never reach a singularity. So this song is like, sing along with me. It's not a perfect song. It's a singularity, the lyrical little twist. And I want to make it sound like Jamiroquai, because I think singularity sounds like a kind of a
Singularity. Sorry, I interrupted you. Sorry, mate.
That's all right, but no, this is, if I write 20, 30, 40, 50 songs, maybe this be one, maybe it works, maybe people like it, maybe they will sell it, maybe not, maybe one of the other songs will happen. But, if sustainably I can write these songs and just put them out there, why wouldn't I do that? It's an enjoyable process. I'm going to enjoy writing them, and I'm going to enjoy.
You're a creative incubator.
That's it. And you don't have control over what's going to fly or not. I don't know, I can't force any of these songs to be successful hit singles, but I can do the bits that are in my control, which is actually just writing the stuff and putting it together. Yeah. I'm surprised sometimes when, I finish recording something, damn man, it's actually good. I hear it back and I'm going, there's potential in that. Like the Wanna Buy Your albums, that's a really simple tune, but it's a nice idea, and it's, I think part of what I'm finding is writing something that's emotive and emotional, being concise, and melodic. I'm into melody, and it sounds like that's craft. Like with art, you start with a canvas and some paints and whatever, and then you put the paint on the canvas, and the way you do that, and you get better at it. But you just got to do it, and trust that you're going to get better at it. I just got to make these songs, and just trust that the evolutionary process is I have to get better at it. When I get the feedback, and this is what I think Rowan Harry's really good at with his comedy, was putting it in front of an audience. He's sitting in this room writing some gags, putting it in front of an audience, and then evolving the pausing and evolving the way he sells it and the attitude, until he's on a winner and he knows sort of how to work an audience, and then he's hearing that response, and that was a kind of genius, I thought, when I watched some of those videos back.
The trap that I found doing that style of comedy was I was doing the same 5 minutes material years and wasn't really growing with that. Doing the podcast,
stuck in a loop.
Yeah, I got stuck in a loop. Yeah. Doing the podcast,
I thought that with my nerd character, I'm just showing up every Friday doing the same stuff, same shtick.
Yeah, I mean, when you're getting paid for that, that's great. Like, I'm happy just to keep tuning that in Groundhog Day, if that's the engine running.
And still thinking about other ideas. Like I came up with this mirror ball helmet with a transmitter and a camera on it, because I was trying to push this idea, and thinking I had pictures in my head of being strung up like Bon Jovi and like on these big sort of hanging over the audience with little angel wings and this mirror ball helmet, and being the mirror ball, which is a pretty ambitious idea, but it's like I was just kind of riffing on just thinking of where could this character go. I mean, I even had this movie idea for him being a disco dancer in a nightclub in Melbourne. He has to solve this mystery of where all of the bottles and cans or the drinks are getting stolen and disappearing. And no one really cares, because you've got to get rid of that stuff anyway. Yeah. But he kind of thinks that he's an undercover like Austin Powers, and this is, he's a secret agent, and he's a serious disco dancer on the surface, but underneath he's a super sleuth, and he works out that basically all the stuff's getting taken across the border to South Australia for the deposit, for the 10-cent deposit, and these people are making like loads and loads of crazy gangster money because of the volume of stuff going through this nightclub of bottles and cans.
Why don't you put a GoPro on it and shoot it?
Look, this is just one of a million ideas. Some of them happen and some just evaporate. So I mean, it might work funny for a music video, or that idea might work for something. It doesn't, a short film, a long film, or who knows. I mean, I was kind of thinking of re-editing the Closet Space movie from the Trop Fest
$30 a week it'll be going out for.
into a music video, or the subsequent one where I got Rowan Harry to dress up as a giant number 8.
That's right.
Found a mattress by the side of the road, cut it into a, with his head just sticking out the top of the 8 and this little belly button at the bottom of the...
I mean, that's great for editing, but with our smartphones, we've got great cameras now where we can just do,
I've heard, what's his name, Soderbergh, the director who made the Ocean's 11 movies, his latest film was all shot on a phone.
Yeah.
And there's film festivals, short film festivals, which are all films shot on phones. And obviously you want to do the sound separately and sync it up.
Yeah.
But the pixel counts and stuff are really high on phones now.
Yeah, I just take a lapel mic now and I just record all my live stuff for the podcast. And I'll get reasonable sound, but that cost me $5 for that little lapel mic.
No, it's great. Yeah, the prices come down.
Yeah, and with the phones.
I love. Have you heard of ASMR, like binaural video, binaural recording?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'd love to be able to go. Do the close stuff like that. Let's make some oxytocin. Maybe you should whisper as well. When you're whispering, and even those little details of the kind of those little quiet bits, it evokes intimacy because it sounds like when someone was whispering in your ear that time, and they were very close to you. So it associates to close space, and it makes you feel, it produces intimacy, biochemistry in your brain. And if I was doing this in stereo, I could lean towards one side, your left ear, and then lean to the other side, and then it would sound like it was in your close space, and that makes you feel like, once again, like the world's not at a distance, that it's within range and everything's close, and that makes you make happy brain chemistry. And I even thought, wouldn't it be cool to record a whole album of songs?
I'm going to open with this. This is how I'm going to open the interview. It's good.
Alright, I'm going to break that. I'm going to break out of that because,
Alright.
it could be a bit much, but that's the idea of ASMR and binaural.
Yeah, that's gold. I might end on the plug, maybe. So I think I get everything I need.
Yeah.
I'll cut that success shit because it's forced. So we don't
I tried to make it not forced, but yeah.
No, we don't need it.
I only brought it up because it was on topic of what, and I thought,
just in case.
And this is the thing too with the right interviews is if you put a seed in there, then I'm hearing that and I'm responding to the, what you had said as well.
Yeah, it's all learning.
Yeah.
No.
For the vinyl collection.
Yeah, man.
I went to a second-hand shop and I was looking through the vinyl and I found this album by Kate Nash, an English singer, and I thought, this looks new. And I flipped it over, looked at the date on it. It was from 2008. I'm like, oh, this is new school vinyl because of the whole rebirth of vinyl.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I'll pull it out of the sleeve to see the condition. And I pulled this, and it was bright pink. It was actually the limited edition pink vinyl of House of Bricks album, Kate Nash. And it's $2. I thought, great, I'll keep that. Looked it up on eBay. It's a limited release of only 1,000 copies in the pink vinyl. And they go for about $160, like shrink wrapped. This one's obviously not shrink wrapped. But pretty good condition, and I think even unshrink wrapped they go for about $80 or $90. And so I thought, that this could be an interesting way of making money, just spotting the right things. And
I had a friend that was doing that. He'd go get deceased estates and grab stuff, and then just sell the items individually.
Yeah. I even found the CD album of this same album, so I could sort of try and sell them together because the CD's got an extra track. And I thought, if I do my research and sell this as a product, someone also, what happens on eBay is things cost so much extra for postage. And so if you can go, you know what, this is going to suit an Australian buyer who doesn't want to import this record, it's already in Australia, if I sell it into someone who likes Kate Nash in Australia. And she sounds a lot like Lily Allen.
Oh, yeah.
I like your friends because they are fitter. That kind of a little bit chav sort of accent.
Yeah, like a bit of chav, mate. Thought it's sexy.
It's all right, isn't it? That was the whole appeal of Lily Allen, and maybe even if you know the Streets. Remember that album?
Yeah, I know his Streets, mate. Yeah, fucking know his Streets, yeah.
That original pirate material.
Yeah.
Listen to the Streets, knock down your aerial.
Did you find yourself being in the Big Brother house when you were just
I
completely
didn't find myself in the
fucking
brother.
bored?
I totally lost myself. I think.
Yeah,
There he is over there.
You just
I could see myself in the mirrors. Oh, there he is.
Well, these were strategies used just to pass the time. Was just
Oh yeah,
role-playing
look,
and
you know,
stuff?
one of the strategies was playing camera 53, and basically in the mirrors, you know how what happens when you're looking in a mirror,
Yeah.
and you get further and further away and smaller. We were pretending, you know how there's multi-cameras, and they say camera 1 or camera 2 or camera 3.
Yeah.
We would basically try and find a very obscure small reflection of each other, and say, I'm looking right at you in camera 23. And just you, and the bigger the number, like if we said camera 84 or something, the bigger the number, the smaller and further away it was. And the person who would be looking around, where is he looking at? And then suddenly find this little, and it'd be this tiny fragment of a reflection where you'd be looking right at them going, yeah. And it was kind of like, where's Wally?
Yeah.
And that was one of the games we play that, you know, because you got to pass the time.
Yeah,
and
you started that game?
I did, because I'd be like, I'd be talking to someone and looking at their reflection, then talking back, and I'm like, no, camera 2. And then they'd, what? And then they'd find, and so it started with the low numbers, and then looking in there and go, and then they'd be talking back to me through the reflection, and then the number just got higher and higher and more obscure.
Did you watch
the game
any
progressed.
Did you watch any of the footage when you got out of the house?
I tried to transfer it from VHS to data files, and obviously if you're ever feeling down, your eviction show is going to be a big party about you. Like, you're going to go, I had a bad day at work. Put on this tape with it, and Dan, everyone, welcome down to the stage, you know. And it's like a reminisce about this show, and it's really bright and happy. I mean, that's going to cheer you up. Yeah, no, it's cool. So yeah, obviously I watched my eviction show, and unfortunately the cassette had run out before the end of the show, so I think I had an incomplete tape of that one. And the other thing that happened too is
we'll put that out
10
now.
years later, 10 years later, when people cleaned out their houses, they'd be like, I'm cleaning out my house, I came across a collection of Big Brother tapes, do you want them? So I've got another couple collections.
Oh, good. I was just going to
I haven't gone through, because it's big. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of hours of tape.
Yeah. Any listeners out there that does happen to have a copy of Dan's Big Brother tapes, you'd love that, wouldn't you?
I don't think I can. No, I'm not trying to accumulate. I live in a small space. I can't
worries.
accept any more giant things.
What about online? Has anyone put it on YouTube or anything?
There are little bits, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there might be torrents or those sites where you can download stuff where people have said to me, I've downloaded your series and watched it. Hey, here's an interesting response that happened too. That's just reminded me of is I was working at the Games Arcade, and these girls were there, and they're like, "Oh, hi, we're from Ohio, and I gotta say, we watched your season of Big Brother because it was on cable.
Yeah.
In the States, they must have sold the license to screen it on cable. Oh, but we love Australian Big Brother because, see, in the US, everyone's so nasty and they're always, nagging about each other and whatever. But in Australia, everyone just hangs out and has a great time. So, they were like, we love you, we love Aussie Dan. And she said, there was these posters up. Is Dan going to win or something in their hometown? I'm like, really? There's posters of me in another country based on this? Like, what? Yeah. And I'm like, if you go back, take photos. Oh, no, they're like D-bill posters, that get pasted up and they get other stuff over the top and they get pulled down. Man, I would love to see what a poster of me in another country looks like, because that just makes my brain go, what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Isn't it? Yeah. I'm like, I don't know if they were making that up or not, or, because they were like, oh, you should come to the States. Oh, yeah, they love Aussies there. And yeah, I know. I kind of think, maybe I should get out of my gene pool. I've never been to the US.
Seeing all that promo stuff, was it like an out-of-body experience for you?
I think when stuff was really hyped up, we used to call it meat on a stick. Like, we used to say, look, especially me and Chrissy, we're like, you know what, if they got a piece of meat and put it on a stick and just waved it around in front of the crowd and get, everybody, it's meat on a stick, yeah! And then have images on the screens of the words meat on stick and just flashing it, meat on stick, meat on stick, meat on stick. So every time we got to a big sort of pumped up moment that was fake, we'd be like, oh, this is so meat on a stick, yeah, this this is so meat on stick. That was our way of saying it's a big fake pumped up moment.
You could have been a hot dog on a stick, mate.
You could have been anything on a stick and waving in front of the crowd, and they would have cheered and whatever, you know. And we've all had that experience. I mean, they used to, when I did the nerd, they used to say, oh, you know, who wants the nerd to take his pants off? And I'm like, don't say that, because the crowd's going to go, yeah, to whatever you're saying if you're yelling it.
Yeah. No, I do that. I often set my...
Oh, and because I had, you know, I would start to wear polka dot underwear just to try and, you know, just in case then. Just because that would be in character otherwise. Just don't want to do it.
Like the dancing monkey, mate.
Yeah. Oh, memories are flooding back now, yeah. Trauma. Well, I mean, the nerd character is like a vulnerable character. Like he's a, you know, like it brings out the alpha in guys that want to pick on the weedy little nerdy guy, you know. So,
what do you know about fragmentation when you go through trauma? When you actually fragment into like could you say the nerd is the immature side of Dan that hasn't yet grown?
Now you're onto something. That's a level of complexity or a meta story to sort of start to get beyond.
Yeah.
Because it was reported in some magazines that Dan does these characters to deal with sort of fragmented parts of his personality. You know, it sounds like a bit pretentious.
So I like that though. I like pretension.
Do you?
Bring it on.
No, a bit can be fun as long as you're okay to sort of say that it's pretense.
Yeah.
Fake pretension that thinks it's real is that's annoying.
Yeah. I mean,
I've got to watch that with my songs too. I'm writing these really sincere, sort of emotional songs. I've got to make sure that they don't come over pretentious. So, how do I guard against pretension?
Here's another question that is kind of in there. You know, you're talking about ex-girlfriends, and sometimes you go back to that moment to help you jerk off.
Yeah, that's to simplify it, but yeah.
The simplified way of saying it. Sorry, to say it in a crude manner. But could you do that with the nerd character? Could you go back to these parts of your childhood where you were dealing with the death of your parents, and you couldn't cope with it at the time, but now you're a mature adult?
Yeah. This is kind of interesting because sometimes things will spark off a memory.
Yeah.
So, for example, and I'm bringing up Big Brother again, but Chrissy had a yelling match with one of the guys that was always bringing up tension, and, you know, that he felt his role because he'd gotten cast as the antagonist and stuff. And she's like, you always got to ruin it. She just had it out with him and yelled at him. But I looked down and my hands were shaking because it was bringing back when I had a stepmother that used to always yell at my dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is, I don't know. If you do not deal with something yourself and you don't express it and you don't process it, it's going to come out at the most inappropriate moments. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of thinking, this is probably not an appropriate moment for this to come up and to try and deal with it. So I don't think I said anything to anybody about it or anything. But
you were silently dealing with it.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was definitely coming back. It's like sort of regurg where it comes back in, you can taste it all again, and it's, you know, and you kind of think, well, what do I do about that while it's present again? And obviously it's the time and place, like the pearls before swine. I mean, if you're in a moment where something comes up, and you can deal with it, then do it. If you're with a close friend or whatever, or even if you can sort of do it with your own self. And here's an interesting experience of this, and this is really out there for a story. So I'm in Queensland, I'm trying to get the part in Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm not getting it, I'm sleeping on the steps of the church. I get this call, can you be in this Royal Commission of Child Abuse as a support person? I'm about to leave town. So I go to this place where one of the women who helps with the charity and stuff, she's a Dutch woman. And see, my mother was from the Netherlands, she was from Rotterdam. So I have this affinity, it's like a maternal feeling or a softness for the Dutch accent. Mm-hmm. So I go to her place and I said, look, I've got the call, I'm going to leave town. So I'm here to say goodbye. Thanks for your help and being kind to me. Oh, well, that's okay. Before you go, can I pray for you? And I'm like, okay, yeah, you can pray for me. Mm-hmm. So I sit down on this sofa bed, and you know how they're quite low to the ground. So that's kind of critical to the story, because as I'm sitting on this sofa bed, low down, with my eyes closed, and she's standing next to me with her hand on my shoulder to pray for me, and she's off sort of with her own, you know, pray that he has a good time or that it works out well, But my subconscious and my conscious mind now start having this conversation, and the conversation goes like this. Oh, this is a weird feeling. Yeah, why is it? Well, you know, I reckon when you were about 6 years old and your mother died, you're probably about waist height. Yeah, right. Fuck yeah. I'm sitting with my head about waist height and this woman's kind of talking away in a Dutch accent and it's sparking off my subconscious. And so I was like, yeah, well, okay, if you had this moment with your mother again, because it's coming up, you're regurging it, what would you say to her? Well, Dan, I guess we've always had this problem with the idea of abandonment because, you know, even though I know she died of cancer, it felt like she'd just gone and it felt like abandonment. Oh, well, what would you say to her then? I guess it'd be nice to hear from her, I didn't die to abandon you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, do you think we can do that? Yeah. And so there's this like almost a shaking of hands between my consciousness and my subconscious, and I don't know how you would find this moment just by trying for it or pushing for it. And this is an alignment.
You wouldn't.
This is a spiritual kind of alignment that was happening because of a lot of forces and a lot of things that were going on and being humble and, you know, all kinds of things. Plus a lot of this stuff was, charity was through churches. So I was going to church all the time and I had this strange, you know, a couple other things happened as well that were very spiritually interesting. But this was incoming though. A lot of that was outgoing. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it was like my conscious and my subconscious could shake hands. The feeling of it was like, you know, there's this fairy story of the princess who's lying on all the mattresses and she can feel the pea if she's really a princess that's under all the layers.
Yep. So
it felt like this little pea could just move a little bit and then the mattresses could sort of move just a touch left and right. So it was like a realigning of the consciousness from the ground up of this little idea of you're not worth it.
Yeah.
I'm moving on without you. I'm abandoning you. That could just shift and I could feel it move underneath all these layers of consciousness and all this history. Shift. Like a tectonic shift. You don't have to rely on this sort of lie or this idea, this feeling that you're not worth it and that you're, you know, that this feeling of abandonment and whatever, it's a lie. She died of cancer, you know, you consciously know that as an adult.
Yep.
So your adult can now go back, you know, this was a way to revisit the child. So what I'm saying from this story is it's possible to do this by yourself. I mean, you could get a psychologist, but I don't know how much talking it would take to get to that moment. I told this story to a girl once. And I said, I don't know how long that it would take. And she goes, it would take a while. And I think she had some experience of going to a psychologist.
Like you said,
trying to get under those layers and move that little pea.
Mm-hmm.
And here it was, just lining up. But it took me actually taking that moment and having this quietness to have that little chat inside my head between my consciousness and my subconsciousness. So it's possible to do this stuff for yourself. Take the time, take the stillness, you know, investigate. If trauma and stuff comes into the present, deal with it, think about it. Process it, digest it.
Yeah.
But it's worth your time and worth your while. You owe it to yourself, or, you know, I don't know what other terms I can put it in, but it'll make you a stronger and better person. And it won't, you know, those drives are still in my actions and stuff. I can't take that idea totally out of the driver's seat, but I can be aware of it. And then you can self-manage. I mean, I've got friends who go, you know what, I've got to switch my phone off in the car because I can't trust myself to not look at the messages and stuff. You know, that's self-management. Or I'm going to leave my money at home because I know if I'm driving around I'm going to stop off for takeaway. Or, you know, that's not going, oh, well, that's silly, I make my own decisions. That's self-management of going, I know my drives are strong, so I'm going to not put myself in that situation, you know.
Yeah.
That's what it leads to, is being your own parent, being your self-parent.
No, that's a great example to end on, I think, Dan. It's like what you're saying before about being aware of it and going with it.
And
it doesn't matter how you get to it, but you arrived.
Yeah. That's it. I wasn't expecting that moment to happen, but there it was, and I tried to use that moment and deal with it the best I could while I had it. And then all the traffic goes again, nothing aligns for a while. So you know, it's just so important to do it while you can cross that road, cross it when enjoy life when it works. Don't sweat it when it doesn't.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's so hard. There's so much expectation. You know, your timing's going to be different than other people's, and you're seeing them be successful and whatever. Yeah, and it's just not lining up for you. Not lining up. Boom, boom, boom. The 1-2 punch.
Try telling this to someone in a prisoner of war camp. Do you know what I mean? It's hard sometimes.
But then you watch The Shawshank Redemption. You watch someone who was persistent and took the time to dig their way out after years and years. And you know, there's other stories like that, of that kind of level of steadiness and persistence, you know, even if you're like Erosion or Castaway, Tom Hanks on an island.
Yeah.
You know, he had to just hold on for those years, not knowing if he'd ever leave that island.
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend once that I said, oh, when I first met you, you were like the Cirque du Soleil tent, like this amazing, beautiful thing. But then the slightest bit of wind blew and the whole thing fell over. And I sort of looked inside, I'm like, you know what, that's all right, the poles are in the wrong spot. We'll just rebuild it with the poles in the right spot. And she was like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. I could just, you know, be all right if the wind doesn't blow. I'm like, you can't control the circumstances. I'm happy to help you put this up in the right spot. No, it's too painful to change it. It's too, I can't. You know, and I'm like, I'm not interested in watching this tent just fall over and over, and let's put the poles in exactly the same spot and watch it fall over. That's harrowing to watch someone put themselves through stuff. But I am interested in, like you said, in healing.
Yeah.
I'll help you. You know, let's sit together. We'll work out where to put the poles. If that doesn't work, we'll evolve it.
Yeah.
Put them in a better spot next time. Until you're the Cirque du Soleil tent and you look good on the outside, but you've got the backup. It's structurally okay on the inside as well.
Yeah. We found out one way of not doing it. Let's try again.
Yeah.
Let's start again.
Be okay with the evolution of it though. If it falls over, that's part of the process.
Yeah. No,
Keep going.
Yeah. Oh, that's
All right, Ron. Good job, Kat. You know, we better wind it up. You've got your quiz night.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'll head off that in about 20 minutes. But no, thank you so much, Dan.
Okay.
It's been deep. It's been beautiful.
Oh.
Energy Consultant is produced by Ryan Barry and distributed by the Ozcast Network.